Hey hunters! Welcome back to Anime Fanfic Corner, the only place on YouTube dedicated exclusively to Hunter x Hunter audiobooks. Lots of you asked for more parts of this. So here. Enjoy. Peace. Chapter 47 is an author's note. Chapter 48. My name is Alfred. I've worked as a head butler for O'Kane family for 30 years. O'Kane family is one of the wealthiest families in all of Japan. That is all thanks to the first family head. He created O'Kane Corporation, which produced designed hero costumes which brought great wealth. This quickly increased the power of O'Kane family. Family head changed twice since I started working. In all of my life I've seen unimaginable quirks and experienced unimaginable pains, but was never shaken by it. Nothing could surprise me, or so I thought, until our young master was born. Even that day was weird, as 4 children were born at the same time in O'Kane household. One of the children was my grandson. 2 others were twins born from the servant girl the family adopted. And lastly, only heir of O'Kane family was born. O'Kane family always had a low fertility rate and only 1 heir was born each passing generation. But it was still enough to keep them as the prosperous family. But no one expected what would happen. Our young master was born healthy, but he missed one thing that made males a male. He had no genitals, no testicles and no rod. He most likely has a mutant quirk, as he looked quite weird. Mutant-type quirks are associated with the user's physicality, mutations. As a result, mutant quirks are passively active and, at a glance, are the most identifiable. O'Kane family members had mutant quirks for generations, so it was expected. He was green humanoid, and even when he was a child he had a strong-looking body. He had 2 long antennae on his ears, and there were dark pigmented areas on his arms, legs, chest, and head. White scarf covered his neck. He also possessed a powerful tail equipped with a stinger. Nothing looked weird except that he had no external organ of reproduction. When Master saw it, he hurriedly called all the famous doctors from all of Japan to see what is wrong with his son. Doctors couldn't do anything, as this was first time they saw something like this. Time went by and young Master quickly grew up. Now he is 2 years old, but you wouldn't say that if you see him. He was quite big and tall for his age and was super intelligent. At the age of 2 he already learned all the middle school materials. He was a genius, seen only 1 in trillion people. Sadly, he could never have descendants that could inherit his genes, as he had no. I chose BNHA, Boku no Hero Academia, world for many reasons. First of which, me having an alien appearance. In most of the worlds I would be assumed to be a monster and would be hunted. In BNHA world there are people who have weirder appearance than mine. Second reason being, there are a lot of random powers in this world. Here 80% of population has something called quirk. A quirk, also known as a meta ability by the Meta Liberation Army, is a special, superhuman ability an individual can possess. Quirks are generally unique to their user, and are classified in multiple categories. They are random, they could be super powerful or super weak. Of course, I would not come to this world without being sure I could find the power that could help me. One power that could potentially help me is Erie's rewind powers. Basically, her rewind powers could rewind person's body. Theoretically, she could make human rewind back to being monkey. Chimera ants have human genes, so I could again become a human. But I wouldn't do this, as this would be stupid. I wasted so much time to get a perfect body and wouldn't lose it now. There are so many weird quirks in this world, so with luck I would find them eventually. And finally, I chose this world because people here are weaker than in Hunter x Hunter world. Even if my power decreased, I would still be able to survive. I regained my memories way faster than in my past life. Without stopping, I looked at my stats. They said, greater than stats. Greater than strength, very impressive, you have the same strength as the common strengthening quirk. Greater than speed, very impressive, you have same speed as a common speed-oriented quirk. Greater than durability, exceptional, you're quite tough. As expected from an ant. Greater than intelligence stupid, readers think you're stupid. Someone thinks you're 1 in a trillion. But we all know how you got so much knowledge. Disappointed look. Greater than stamina exceptional, you have a good stamina. Greater than abilities. Greater than mind locked. Greater than body quirk, or a synthesis. Quirk, metamorphosis. Quirk, cocoon. Greater than supernatural locked, unlocked after obtaining a mission quirk. Quirk, hide and seek. Quirk, dragon's head. Quirk, 100 type Wanyan. Quirk, Dr. Blythe. Greater than miscellaneous skills master of hand-to-hand combat, advanced firearms mastery, advanced sniping, advanced soundless movement, advanced knife mastery, master sword mastery. Greater than mission become a great hero and become famous by any means possible. Accomplish tasks stated below. 1 Fight All Might at his peak. 2 Kill/eliminate 10,000 criminals. 3 Make Midoriya a great hero without him getting one for all. 4 Destroy League of Villains. 5 Kill all for one. 6 Single-handedly destroy Yakuza. 7 Build your first kingdom. What is a king without kingdom? Greater than status confused, healthy, lucky, under boost 3%. As stated in my status I was quite confused. First of all I have new stat which was stamina. Also all my Hatsu abilities changed to be quirks. And finally I can't even use my mind and supernatural abilities. But after I thought about it, it kind of made sense. This world has no concept of nen or life energy. Power system in this world revolves around quirks and most of them needed stamina to perform. Most likely all of my aura was converted to stamina. But it also does not make sense. As I had a monstrous amount of aura and got only exceptional grading for my stamina. It had at least to be overpowered. This did not make sense. I was tricked. This is a conspiracy. Chapter 49. In a playground on a sunny day. 2 kids were playing. One was a kid around 3 or 4 ages. He had a messy green hair and green eyes. He had a round face and large eyes. He looked quite innocent. Other kid was super mega handsome guy that when seen by any woman would instantly trigger their motherly love. And for some cases even more. You guessed correctly, this other kid is our all-favorite main character. How did he become a human, you ask? Look at the title. Duh. I never thought that my luck would be so powerful. Few weeks ago I received a quirk. As I was technically born in this world I could get a quirk too. I named my quirk Kleptomaniac. It is the same as my aura synthesis. I could change my race with quirk Kleptomaniac. To change my race I have to know everything about it, and the best way for me to know about them is to, just like aura synthesis. Few people volunteered to help me to try out my quirk. As I had great standards I chose only handsome males. This was a great choice as now I'm most handsome kid in this world. I can change into my chimera ant form anytime I want. This is a great quirk, but it has a great weakness. In this form I don't have crushing physical might of my ant king form. Even thought I could change my race almost instantly, that instant sometimes could be fatal. Now I'm hanging around with Midoriya, the protagonist of BNHA series. If I could I would have never hanged around him. Now I understand why Bakugo, main rival of Midoriya, felt when interacted with him. I need to make him a great hero without one for all. This is almost impossible if you don't have quirk all for one. Which gives you power to steal and give quirks from and to other people. But its greatest power is that it can fuse quirks, which makes even most common quirks quite powerful. Of course I have a way to give Midoriya a quirk with the help of cocoon ability I got after eating Poof. Poof has the faculty to bestow nen abilities on others. He does so by enveloping them in a cocoon in which they lie, unconscious, until the process is complete. Leal obtained his ability in 3 days due to being a slow learner, and claimed it is possible to learn one in only 24 hours. Subjects with intact memories regenerate from the cocoons more quickly. Xiaopuf was capable of creating more than 5,000 cocoons for the survivors of the selection, although he was originally expected to generate 10 times as many, with the twofold purpose of increasing the quality of Meruem's food and creating a loyal army of Nen users. When used on humans, the cocoon has the additional effect of turning them into human chimera and hybrids, creating a whole new species. With Neferpito's assistance, Palm was made into an experimental soldier with all her memories, but no emotions associated to them, due to the emotional charge of recollections affecting the process of learning Nen in unpredictable ways. This would have allowed the royal guard to insert Nen using hybrids into human society to erode it from within, although the experiment was eventually deemed a failure. But after Cocoon was turned into a quirk, it became a perfect ability. I already experimented on it, and that's what I found out. In this world, Cocoon does not make you a chimera and hybrid. But it still increases your stats tremendously. And also you may get some kind of mutation if it's related to your quirk. Any person who this ability is used on could get a quirk. I tested it on 100 quirkless people and all of them received a quirk. But this ability uses too much stamina. I could use it only once a day when I first used it. And throughout that day I could not even move. But now after I feasted on them I increased my stamina tremendously. Now I could use it and recover my stamina in an hour. After observing the missions that God gave me, I understood one thing. That God knows everything, and I mean everything, and I don't like it. I understood this after looking at first mission, which was to fight All Might in his peak. This means I have to find a way to heal All Might from his injuries. In this world it's really hard to do it, as only few quirks could accomplish it. And those quirks are super powerful, and to get them I have to beat people that have it. One such example is Overhaul. Overhaul is a quirk that could deconstruct matter and reconstruct it into shapes favorable to its user. But mission to fight All Might was first in order, showing that it is most likely easiest to complete. And it's correct, as I could easily heal All Might with Dr. Blythe. Showing that God knows everything about me and controls the situation. As a perfect life form, how could I be controlled by this useless God? I looked at Midoriya and asked, "Did you awaken your quirk?" He looked at Floor and said, "No, not yet. Of course you don't have it." With a fake comforting smile I said, "Don't worry, you will awaken it soon." He smiled again and answered, "Yes." I could easily give him a quirk right now, but it would be too stupid. I have to first make him feel despair. How he is destined to never be a hero. Only when he is in his lowest would I give him a hand. This would make him appreciate this quirk more and be forever indebted to me. When I was playing with him and sometimes mentioning how quirk is important and quirkless people could never be heroes, someone came to us followed by his henchman. He was an angry-looking dude with spiky light golden hair. He had a look full of confidence and arrogance. Here comes my helper, Chapter 50. The person who came was Katsuki Bakugo. He was the main friendly rival of Izuku Midoriya in the series. Right now he was still kinda friends with Izuku, but after he awakens his quirk he would start to bullying him. He came next to me and Izuku. Looking at Izuku he said, "Deku, let's go to the forest raid." Then he looked at me and asked, "Who are you?" I started talking with Izuku a few days ago, so he doesn't know me. I smiled and said, "My name is Meruem. Because of my great luck I was named Meruem by my parents. Having a good luck is best." I talked with him and followed him to the forest. By their conversation I knew it was a time when they went to forest where Bakugo fell down and Izuku tried helping him. Bakugo always received compliments from the people who surrounded him, making him think that he was a center of universe and the greatest prodigy. And when someone like Izuku tried helping him he thought of it as a ridicule. This was one of the first instances which led him hate Izuku. It all happened just like in canon storyline. It's not all. I also made him fall down dozen times more, and every time Izuku tried helping him. This made Bakugo hate Izuku even more. He started making fun of him Izuku after this. All of it increased after he developed quirk. It was far worse than in original story. But I also sometimes comforted Izuku few times or he would have been broken. Like this a month or so passed. Izuku still didn't develop a quirk. And finally that day came. The day when he is confronted with reality. Izuku with his mom went for a hospital and came back feeling down. I went next to Izuku and said, "What happened?" He looked at me and started crying and said, "Nothing. Nothing happened." After that he ran away. Izuku's mom looked at me and apologized, "He is just down so he can't talk with you." "I understand," I said it and went back to home. The next day he also was down so I went to Izuku's mom and said, "Can Izuku come to my house for few days, so he can forget about what happened?" She looked at me surprised and said, "You're a good friend. I hope you'll always be good friends with Izuku." "Of course," I answered with a smile. After we played for an hour, car came to take me home. It was my first time bringing someone home so all the butlers and servants were quite surprised. When I entered a mansion 3 people were already bowing down in front of me. Of course they were my royal guards. Poof had the same appearance as in the HXH world. Pedo too had the same appearance but now looked more humanoid. And the last person was Yuppie. In this world he looked like a trap. He had a petite body and a sweet voice. Even when he tried to train and get some muscles he couldn't. He also had cat ears just like Pedo. In this world he was born as Pedo's twin brother. They were all born in the same day as me. I looked at Albert who stood on a side and said, "Prepare a room for our guest, he would be staying here for few days." After that I looked at my guards and went to my room. Izuku was taken with Alfred. In my room I looked at Poof and asked, "What happened to the new experimental material?" From 50 that revered given quirks 5 couldn't control them and died. The ones that are left are training vigorously to serve you. After saying that he stopped and pulling up his courage asked, "Do I have to brainwash your friend?" "No, it's unnecessary. Even without it he would not betray me." I answered and continued, "What happened to the lab rats that underwent cocoon the second time?" Normally people in this world could only have one quirk. There are some mutants that could wield 2 element or as a fusion, like Todoroki's half hot half cold or All Might's / Midoriya's one for all. But it's still one quirk. People's body couldn't contain more than one quirk. Only exception being all for one. Poof answered, "All of them left the cocoon but they couldn't develop second quirk. We did the same with the people who were born with quirks. Most of them died. Those who survived didn't receive a quirk but their quirk evolved and got stronger. The guy that could breathe cold air now could shoot out icicles from his mouth now." I looked at Yuppie and asked, "Do police and heroes suspect anything?" "No, they don't. All the people died from an earthquake caused by a wild quirk user, who was later caught and sentenced to death." "Good work," I said and went towards a door. "We don't deserve a compliment," they all answered. I went towards Izuku's room. Now it's time to give him something good. From my research people mostly received quirks that were in their genetics. I know that his father could breathe fire and his mom can pull small things towards herself. He would most likely receive one of those or a mix between them. Breathe fire? Pull things toward himself? Would he have a quirk that pulls hot women towards himself? Nope. Main characters are born with this ability and they don't need quirk to make a harem. Chapter 51. I went near the room that Izuku stayed and knocked on a door. He opened the door and peeked his head. "Oh. Miriam, why are you here?" I said, "Can I come in?" "Yes, come," he answered. I entered and looked around the room. It was nicely decorated with expensive furniture. It was the same as in 5-star hotel. Alfred did his job. I looked at Izuku and with a hesitant face said, "What would you do if I said I could help you get a quirk?" He looked at me wondering and asked, "What do you mean?" I answered him, Yesterday I met a good person. He told me that he can give quirks to other people. Izuku got excited and said, I could get a quirk. I can get a quirk. Follow me, I said, and led him to the secret room my parents created for me. After knowing I was quite smart, I asked them to create a room for my experiments. They thought I was just doing kid stuff there and just made a small room in the outskirts of the mansion. No one except me and my guards could go there. There was an instance when maid entered it and I made sure she would be fired. This room looked quite normal if you enter it, but there is a secret passage inside of room. During my time here I ate many delicacies and received many quirks. Using the quirk that controls Earth, I created underground base. Inside the base there were many earth puppets that guard it. Even if someone finds the passage, he could never leave it. After I got those quirks, I understood one thing. That if I use large amount of stamina, I could easily pass the limits of a quirk. The quirk that controls Earth originally could only make small holes. But in my hands I created an underground base that is surrounded by a complex maze. Bringing Izuku was a really risky move, as he may tell other people about it. But I still have to do it to complete a mission. In this world, to get a quirk, person has to be in a cocoon for 12 hours. I made sure to tell everyone that we would play in this room for whole day and to never interrupt us. I made Izuku wear a blindfold in his eyes and opened a secret passage. After 10 minutes I arrived at my secret base. Using illumination quirk I made artificial light inside the base. I entered a dark room specially created for Izuku and maid took blindfold from Izuku's eyes. He is here, I said, and continued by saying, he does not want to be seen by other people. Just close your eyes and keep your calm. He did what I said and I used my ability. Slowly he was covered by a cocoon and process started. The first 10 minutes he would be conscious and hear everything that happened in a room. Before I brought him to the room I ordered Yuppie to change his voice and help me. Yuppie in an old person's voice said, I'll help this kid, so you two have to give me what you promised. I said, yes. I would give you 20 years of my life. Just give him quirk, he is my best friend and I would give my life even for him to be happy. All right, Yuppie said in an old man's voice, and we left the room. Before I left the room I made sure Izuku heard what we said and I could feel he tried to leave the cocoon. And stop this transaction. I performed this little show just to make Izuku feel indebted to me and so he can never betray me. After we left the room I looked at Yuppie and said, you did well. If you finished everything you could have some free time. Oh, also call Pito to my room. As you wish. He answered. I went towards my own room in the base. It was best room here. After 5 minutes Pito arrived. I said to her, did you find the person that I asked you to? I searched everywhere for a person named Kaizo Kaguro, but it's really hard to find him. Please punish me for not doing my job right, she said. What about Vigilante Stendhal? I asked. I found nothing, she said, and continued by asking, please forgive my rudeness, but why would you need that person? He is a person with great belief and resolve. He could be useful to us in a long run. I answered. Kaizo Kaguro, also known as Vigilante Stendhal and Hero Killer, Stain. All Might's debut as a hero deeply inspired Kaizo. Since then, Kaizo aimed to become a hero like All Might. He entered a private hero course high school to train to become a hero. However, he became hopeless and despaired after seeing the school's fundamental decay, as the students there were becoming heroes for the money and personal gain. Disillusioned by the reality of heroics, Kaizo dropped out during the summer after his first year. After dropping out of high school, the teenage Kaizo preached an ideology which he called the revival of heroics through street oratory speeches and soapbox speeches, but his words went unheard. Over the following decade, Kaizo realized that only action could create his ideal world and change heroics for the better. Kaizo researched and disciplined himself in the training of the killing arts through self-study in order to achieve his duty of revival of heroics. During this decade, Kaizo's parents died. It is unknown what led to their deaths, but it is believed that Kaizome was not involved. Later he became a vigilante Stendhal. And after that he became what we know as Hero Killer Stain. He started to kill the heroes who he deemed as fakes, basically everyone except for All Might. But later was beaten by Izuku, Ida, and Todoroki. Why would he be useful to me, you ask, after reading this long-ass introduction that I copied from Wikipedia? Easy, that's because I need a charismatic person like him. Right now I'm creating an army of brainwashed puppets and I need someone capable to lead them. I can't do it because I have other problems. My royal guards are strong and are good leaders, but they're always with me. And Stain is perfect fit for this job. Stain's ridiculous force of will has a strong impact on the psyches of others, even enduring combat. He was able to paralyze several top heroes, including a seasoned veteran like Gran Torino and the number 2, now number 1, hero Endeavor, with fear despite having suffered severe injuries. He was also able to force many heroes to reconsider their actions and beliefs, even during combat. Even after his capture, footage of his speech to the heroes inspired many criminals and vigilantes into action, bolstering the ranks of the League of Villains considerably. Chapter 52. Let's just put my plans about army away and concentrate on how to make Midoriya a great hero. I know that his father could breathe fire and his mother has a telekinesis kind of ability. So most likely he's gonna have a pyrokinesis ability. It's an ability that could make you control fire. It's a good ability, but how do I say it? It's basic. In every fictional world that has superpowers or magic there are many people who use fire. And let's be serious, in shonen anime fire doesn't burn a shit. Just think of any anime in which fire ever burned something. Closest thing is firebending Zuko's face, from Avatar, The Last Airbender. And it's not even considered an anime because it's made in West, it's an anime fight me. I just hope it's not a pyrokinesis. Telekinesis would be better as it could give him ability to fly and move objects. 11 hours passed and it was almost time for him to awaken. I went towards the dark room and entered it. I waited for a few minutes and the cocoon started to tremble. It was too early, which was good. The faster you receive a quirk the more powerful it would be. He exited the cocoon and I observed him. He did not change a lot. He was now more muscular, which was truly scary as he was just 4 years old. I also had well-refined muscles, but because I was taller than people in my age it didn't look weird on me. I looked at him and asked, "What is your power?" "I don't know," he answered. I thought for a minute and asked, "Try to breathe fire or pull something towards yourself. Or just try to create a fireball." He did as I said but couldn't do anything. Most likely his power is not telekinesis or pyrokinesis. Maybe he developed some kind of other psychic ability like astral projection or message transfer. "Come and put your hand on my shoulder. Maybe you have to make a contact to know your ability," I said after I deactivated my quirk and turned back to my original form. He was quite shocked seeing my chimera ant form, but he came back to himself quickly. He came to me and put his hand on my shoulder. After that I said, "Try and concentrate if you can use your quirk." After a few seconds I felt something wrong. I had a good smelling that was sharper than any dog's. I could detect the faintest of smells in my chimera ant form. But now I could smell nothing. Was his power to take away other people's sense of smell? Or maybe he could take away all the 5 senses of a person if he could train his quirk. I wanted to stop him, but when I tried to do it something happened. He was draining my stamina, and that's not all, my hair also grew just a little bit longer. If I was human I would have never noticed it, but in my chimera ant form I could sense any change in my body. I hurriedly said, "Stop. Get your hands away from me." He did what I said. I was in a deep thought. He could take away body's senses, drain stamina and maybe even life force, and could age a body. I again looked at him and noticed he got little bit stronger. Most likely because he drained my stamina. After seeing what he could do I could only come up with one power that could explain it. And it was biokinesis. It's in psychic ability that can help person manipulate biology. The user can manipulate life on a cellular level, including but not limited to genetic alterations and physical distortion and/or augmentations of biological functions. They can cause cells to augment to induce advanced or declined biological healing, induce diseases like cancer, induce appearance alteration, manipulate pheromones, and even increase physiological maturity. After understand his power, I could hardly control myself. If he was a normal experimental lab rat, I would have killed him and ate him. This ability was just too broken. Only thing that held me was his importance to complete a mission. But after I complete a mission, I would totally eat him and get this ability. This quirk has infinite potential. Just imagine how with just a touch I could give others a cancer. The greatest advantage of this ability is that people who gets a chance would not even know that he's destined to die. I looked at Izuku and said, "You're one lucky mother foo. Train your quirk and you could be as great as All Might easily. Train so I could get a stronger ability after I eat you." He hesitated and mumbled to himself, "I could be strong as All Might. I could." And started to cry. "No, you can be far stronger than him." I motivated him and technically I was correct. He could modify his body and also manipulate his cells. He could even evolve himself, same as a Volvo lad from DC Comics. A Volvo lad had the ability to control the stages of his own evolution to devolve and evolve himself at will. And evolution manipulation is just one of many sub-power of biological manipulation, aka biokinesis. This is just unfair. I went through so much to just get a chimera and king body, and now random shonen protagonist has omnipotent power. Protagonists are just too damn lucky. Chapter 53. Izuku now has an overpowered quirk, but he doesn't have a mentality befitting to his quirk. In the series, because of constant bullying and rejection, made him a really shy and isolated person. He had no confidence and also developed inferiority complex. Right now he has no such problem, but it's starting to develop. And the best way to increase his confidence is to fight the person who was always better than himself, and we already have a candidate for a beating. We're going back, I said, giving him a blindfold. Izuku hesitantly asked me, "Miriam, I heard something before I lost consciousness. I heard how you said you'll sacrifice your life for me. What did you promise to that person?" I looked at him and warmly said, "You're my best friend. And I would do anything for you. Don't worry about that. Nothing happened. You just have to train your quirk and become the greatest hero. Now wear this blindfold." Izuku started crying, literally waterfalls were coming out of his eyes. It was really surprising how he could cry so much. I yelled, "Stop crying. Nobody is dead." He said, "But." "No buts, wear this blindfold now." He did what I told him after I yelled at him. We exited the underground base. I brought him to his room and said, "You can take a break. Tomorrow we'll start your training." I went back to my room and went to sleep. Next day I was in a training room created for me by my parents. Yuppie was there with Izuku. Now Izuku could only use 3 or so moves. These being taking away senses, draining stamina and replenishing his own stamina with drained one, and finally he could age himself or others. Right now he has to adapt to his new strengthened body, and to do so he has to fight someone strong. I could just kill him with only 1% of my power, so I was a bad sparring partner. Yuppie is a great choice because he is not strong as me and he fight head on. In this world Yuppie's power changed, or it would be appropriate to say it evolved. The quirk he received is named Imagination Morphing. He still could use metamorphosis abilities, but now it is too weak. As now he has a human body, and metamorphosis was truly terrifying with his clay-like body in Hunter x Hunter world. He could create arms and eyes on his body, but if his body is not strong or tangible like before, it would hinder him. He don't need more arms because his quirk Imagination Morphing was quite powerful. He could transform into any living creature or create a mix between them. It was same as Tamakia Jamakia Quirk Manifest. Manifest Tamaki's quirk grants him the ability to manifest the characteristics of anything he eats while it still remains in his system. Imagination Morphing is better version of Tamaki's quirk. Yuppie does not need to eat anything to transform, he just needs to imagine that creature and the part of your body transform. Right now Yuppie just transformed into a giant flame dragon and was looking down at Midoriya. Then he turned his tail into a snake. He also sprouted 10 more claws from his back. Looking at giant dragon, Izuku could say nothing. Dragon then struck him with his claws. Izuku started running and Dragon was chasing him. After 30 or so minutes Izuku couldn't run more and fell down. Dragon did not stop and send out a claw attack towards Izuku. Using all his might, Izuku held on the claw of Dragon and started to drain his stamina. Knowing what is happening, Yuppie tried to take away his claws from Izuku, but he could not get rid of him. Slowly Izuku recovered his lost stamina. This time he did not try to run away but fight Yuppie, which was a stupid idea he quickly lost. They fought next few days and Izuku improved tremendously. He now could control his body well. He also now mastered drawing technique. And it was time for him to battle Bakugo. To show him how powerful he is. After fighting with Yuppie and always losing make his confidence go down. Now we have to increase it. Best way is to him battle Bakugo, who he always idolized. I was also thinking to make Bakugo undergo cocoon, or he would be too weak to fight Izuku. I decided that after a fight I would make Bakugo underground cocoon. After I brought Izuku back home, I went towards Bakugo's house. I met him near his house and went to talk to him. I said, Bakugo, you know Izuku awakened his quirk. And it is far stronger than yours. When he heard my voice he turned around and asked, he has better quirk than mine? Deku is useless. I have greatest quirk and I will become a hero like All Might. I said, no, he has better quirk. If you don't believe me, go and fight Izuku. But with his quirk you will lose instantly. After he heard what I said he went towards Izuku's house. Kids are so easy to manipulate. Now let's go and see a good show. But first I have to buy a popcorn or something. I went to the store and bought a popcorn and went towards Izuku's house. When I arrived there I saw Bakugo on the floor, Izuku confused. Chapter 54. Well, that was anticlimactic. I hoped to watch how Bakugo will struggle, but he lost even before I came. From just a one punch most likely. Let's now just call Izuku a one-punchman. I went towards Izuku and asked, what happened here? He looked at me and answered, Kachan just came running towards me. I felt it and sent a punch towards him. Do you think he is okay? Yep. He is. Just leave him to me, I'll take him to his house, I said and carried him away. I went towards the nearest park and put him on a bench. Then I took out my phone and called Poof. I commanded him, Poof, take one of the shapeshifting quirk users and make him pretend to be Bakugo for 12 hours. Then I opened a portal to the underground base. Threw Bakugo in a dark room and initiated the cocoon. Izuku now has an overpowered quirk which is also a double-edged sword. This quirk would make him a powerful hero but also could make him arrogant. The great example is Bakugo. Before he received a quirk he was best friends with Izuku, but after he got it he changed. I just don't want Izuku to be an arrogant prick like Bakugo. And the best way to keep him on check is a rival. I can't be his rival as I'm just too strong. Royal guards are strong but they have other matters to take care of. If there is no rival I'll just create him. Bakugo's quirk is explosion, which allows Bakugo to excrete sweat similar to nitroglycerin from his palms and ignite it at will to create various explosions. It is quite powerful quirk but it's nowhere close to biokinesis. To make everything fair I will make his quirk stronger. Also after he leaves cocoon his body would get far stronger, which negate one of his weaknesses. Repeated explosions, particularly large ones, eventually result in throbbing pain to Bakugo's arms and shoulders. Additionally, Creating explosions with both arms at the same time causes their overall strength to disperse between both limbs, leading to individually weaker blasts. But with the strong body this weakness would be negligible. After I put him into cocoon, I left the room to the training hall. Underground training hall is the place where my army is trained. When I entered the room, Yuppie came running towards me. He bowed to me and awaited commands. I looked at Yuppie and asked, "Any of them ready for their first mission?" Yuppie answered, "Yes. 20 of them are ready." I said, "Lead those 20 people and start to exterminate criminals. If a criminal has a strong quirk, bring it here. We could make him stronger and make him our power. If you can't, just kill them all." "As you wish," he answered and started to choose people who he would take with him. With this I want to see if I could finish my mission without me doing none of the dirty work. All those puppets got strengthened their quirk from my ability. In theory it means they are part of my quirk. So if they kill the criminals, this would also mean I killed them. I went back to my room and started to train. After 20 minutes I looked at my mission panel and it said that I already killed/exterminated 16 criminals. Now I can just stay here and wait till the mission is finished. There are just so many men that want to watch the world burn. As a chivalrous hero I can't stand such a disaster. My puppets go and kill those vile creatures. For the great future of my kingdom. After 11 hours mission panel stated I exterminates 400 criminals. After looking at it I closed it and went towards the dark room. When I was there I could feel Bakugo will soon leave the cocoon. Pink smoke started to be released from my body. This quirk is quite similar to Somnambulist quirk of Namura Kayama aka R-rated hero, Midnight. Just like Somnambulist, this quirk allows me to put targets to sleep by exuding a sleep-inducing aroma from my body. Only difference is that my quirk works better on women and Somnambulist quirk works best on men. I know what you're thinking after knowing I had this kind of quirk, you perverts. I don't need this quirk to get the girl. My extremely handsome face is enough to get any girl. I looked towards the cocoon and waited it to break. After 10 minutes it started to break down and Bakugo exited it. Before he could do anything he fell down to the floor. He was asleep. I took him and brought him to his house. Grow and become a great rival to Izuku. In a big training hall that was owned by the great Okane family, the ground trembled and many explosions were occurring. Inside of a training hall 2 teenagers both about age of 14 were fighting. One of the teenagers was throwing out terrifying explosions towards the other teenagers. Other teenager kept evading explosions and tried to come closer to explosive guy. Not far off other teenager was looking at the fight. This teenager was a super duper handsome. Behind the teenager stood an intimidating muscular man with a flat face and with no nose. He had rather long black hair which he wore in a messy fashion. It would drape over his face if not for his headband and mask, and small blood-red eyes with tiny irises. Hey hunters! Just a quick break. And yes, we need to do these now. Hope you're enjoying this fanfic. Let's dive back in. Chapter 55, Time Skip. Midoriya was running around and all the places where he was before started to explode. Bakugo was sending out exploding fists towards Izuku but couldn't catch him. For 10 years Izuku trained his body to its fullest and his speed reached unbelievable levels, but he still can't reach Bakugo. Katsuki was just like a wild beast, he just kept sending his explosions everywhere and even with his unbelievable speed he couldn't get close to Bakugo. Seeing how it was useless to evade, Izuku ran head on towards Bakugo. Katsuki stretched out one of his hands and used his other hand to form a circle on the palm of his outstretched hand. Katsuki then fired an explosion through the circle, which created a concentrated blast beam. Dust covered the whole battleground. Using his quirk, Bakugo got rid of it and looked around. There was no one around, or so it seemed. This is one of Izuku's new moves, camouflage. He visually blended into surroundings by blending in with the coloration and form of his background to avoid optical perception. As Bakugo was looking around, two hands appeared out of nowhere from his back. Bakugo used explosions to escape the hands. But he was too slow and finger already touched his face. Explosion revealed Izuku, who was uninjured from all those explosions. The place where his finger touched started to rot in extreme speed. This was a combination of two attacks, which are disease inducement and rot inducement. Bakugo, knowing he is losing, used his ultimate attack, Howitzer Impact. This move is the strongest move in Katsuki's arsenal, which involves Bakugo taking to the air, and then using explosions to propel himself in a circular motion to create a tornado. This tornado builds up oxygen to fuel the incoming explosion. After colliding with the target, Katsuki releases the powerful aforementioned explosion. Izuku tried to run away from the epicenter of the explosion. But Bakugo propelled himself towards Izuku and exploded. Dust and rubble covered the battlefield. The arena was totally destroyed. But both fighters were still standing. Izuku was covered in wounds and Bakugo's left cheek kept rotting. This would end terribly if I don't interfere. I looked at them and said, "This was a good fight. Now Izuku, can you heal Bakugo?" When Izuku tried to do it, Bakugo said, "What do you mean when you said fight is over? It's not over before I really fight." I coldly looked at him and said, "Then let's have a fight between you and me." He angrily answered, "You think I would lose to you again? It's just 746:0. You were lucky those 746 times." After he said that, he propelled himself towards me. Without batting an eye, I summoned my tail and used it as a whip to push him away. Before my mighty tail, he was just too weak. He landed on a concrete floor and broke it with his body. I looked at Izuku and said, "Heal him." After I said that, I went towards underground base. Stain followed after me. In those 10 years I evolved my underground base. Now it is as big as a city and practically is a criminal city. I came up with idea to make underground city 5 years ago. I had to start building my kingdom, and so I made a prototype of my kingdom in underground base. I opened it to public 3 years ago. Underground City is the location of the biggest underground fighting arena in the world. As the leader of this city, I receive many taxes, which increases my capital. The greatest benefit that I receive is the dead bodies. Every day many people die in a fight here. I get all the corpses and their abilities. During the 10 years I received a wonderful quirk from one guy. That quirk was sacrifice, as the name implies. I need to sacrifice something to get something. That guy sacrificed his eyes to get a power, and he was quite powerful. After I stole that quirk, I tried to sacrifice my other useless quirks that I hoarded to increase the power of my most used quirks. What I received was quite shocking. But I didn't have infinite number of quirks, so to get a lot more I created Underground City and Underground Fighting Arena. Oh, I forgot to mention, but I finally found Stain. It was 2 years ago. He first didn't agree to join me. But I was quite convincing. I first beat him up and made him watch 12-hour documentary about myself and my goals. After watching that great documentary, he joined me without the problem. Now he acts like a leader of an underground city. He is born to be a leader, as he is quite charismatic, and everybody behaved when being here just because of him. I looked at him and asked, "Where is Gentle?" He answered, "He is now in Southern Arena working as an announcer." Chapter 56. I went towards Southern Arena. Underground City has 2 grand arenas, which are named Southern Arena and Northern Arena respectively. Northern Arena is under the rules of Stain, and the Southern Arena is under Gentle Criminal. Danjuro Tobita, aka Gentle Criminal, was the main villain of School Festival Act. 2 years ago, right after I recruited Stain, he uploaded his first video. Now I would tell you his whole life story, so listen closely. When he was a teenager, Danjuro failed in his classes and repeated many grades, almost destroying his dream of wanting to be a hero. One day, he was called into the office of his school and told that he would be expelled if he did not improve. Later that day, Danjuro accidentally got in the way of a hero trying to save a window cleaner falling from a skyscraper. He was later expelled from school. At the age of 22, while unemployed, he met an old classmate Takashita who had become a successful pro hero. However, he did not recognize Danjuro when the latter greeted him. This traumatized Danjuro and made him realize that he was not fit to become a hero. 6 years later, Danjuro had become known as the villain of the media world, though he has been mostly unsuccessful at gaining popularity during his criminal career. That's when I came and asked to join me. He has a good quirk but he is too weak. Elasticity. Danjuro's quirk allows him to bestow the property of elasticity to anything he touches, from the ground to the air itself. But he still wanted to become a great hero who would be remembered throughout history. This is the main reason I recruited him. He has a strong resolve. Also, if I give him power it would be easy to control him. It was easy to recruit him but it was hard changing him into a ruthless killer. Befitting his alias, Danjuro is a polite and well-mannered person, even while committing villainous acts. It required few sessions of my great documentary to change his character. But even though I couldn't fully change him, he's still a kind person who wouldn't kill other. But he has no problem in commenting the deadly underground fights, which he now does. He is the commentator of the Southern Arena. I opened a portal towards him. When I arrived at Arena, 2 people were fighting. One person had lightning quirk and the other person had earth controlling quirk. And if you ever played Pokémon you know that lightning is weak against earth type. It's an easy win for earth, I thought, and looked upwards. On the ceilings there is a big screen that shows the fighter's popularity. The person who has higher popularity most of the time wins. What I saw was quite surprising. Lightning Guy was more popular than Earth Guy. All the people betted that Lightning Guy would win. And all those people lost their money when Earth Guy killed the Lightning Guy. I went towards Gentle. He was in the highest platform commentating on a fight. Next to him was his love Manami Aiba. Manami is a very short young woman with quite a large, round head, compared to her narrow body. She has raspberry pink hair, which she wears up in 2 high pigtails, wide and thick at the top and thinning at the bottom, the ends curved upwards to the sides at her waist, their edges trimmed straight. She has a single bang in the middle of her forehead, swept pointedly to her right, and very large, pointed down eyes with thick, heavily made up eyelashes, 2 longer protrusions to each far side, which take up most of her face. Her irises are oval-shaped, pink in color, and each have 2 circles between their small pupils and their rims, giving them a rather hypnotic look. They were already a team when I recruited Gentle. She joined my group with him. She has a terrifying quirk which I would have loved to have. Lover Mode is a quirk that gives you a boost. When Manami declares her love towards Danjuro, he is granted a power-up for a limited time. The more intense her love, the stronger the transferred power will be. If I gave that quirk to my royal guards I would be strengthened quite a bit. But right now I can't give others the quirks I want. But in the future I would after I eat a delicious food. When I was nearing Gentle, one person entered the arena and I knew that person really well as he is the reason for the start of the series. That guy created a meeting between All Might and Midoriya. He is the reason All Might saw how Midoriya was a good successor. I'm saying that guy because I really don't know his name. That sludge villain. The sludge villain shows himself to be a selfish, cruel and sadistic criminal. He was bold enough to steal in broad daylight and flee the scene with various bystanders watching until he found out All Might was near. While trying to escape from the symbol of peace, the sludge villain had no remorse about trying to possess the bodies of 2 young men, Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo, a process that would have suffocated them to death. Sludge villain was fighting a strength-based opponent which he easily overpowered. As his quirk makes all the strength-based quirks except for one for all, useless. I think it's time to finish my first mission, Chapter 57. I went towards Gentle and asked, "Did you find the quirk I asked you to find?" He answered, As that quirk is not combat-based, I couldn't find anything about it. It's okay, I said, and continued by saying, you can continue doing your job now. I looked towards Stain and asked, what about you? Did you found anything about that quirk? He too answered that he couldn't find that quirk. This is really sad, as I only have Stain and Gentle and other little henchmen who could search for that quirk. After I borrowed Sacrifice quirk, I send out my royal guards and most of my army to other countries. If too many people just disappeared from one country, people would start to suspect something. Even thought I'm strongest person in this world, I still can't take a risk. It's too early to reveal myself. I looked at Stain and knew that he was uncomfortable here. Of course he would, as he is standing next to Gentle. They are polar opposites, that's why whenever Stain sees Gentle he wants to kill him. Gentle always wants attention, he wants to be remembered throughout history. And Stain hates those attention whores the most. I said to Stain, you can go to Northern Arena, you're free. Stain is not only the leader of the underground city but is also the owner of Northern Arena. He hurriedly left after listening to my words. I opened a portal and went to my room. When I teleported there, I changed my outfit to school uniform. I'm still 14 years old, so I have to go to school every day. Because my family is wealthy, I had to go to those private schools for rich kids, which I really hate. Those little pieces of shit that think they are kings just because they have a wealthy parents. Even if they were given to me, I wouldn't eat them. It was a super boring class, and after I finished my classes I walked around the city. I was searching for one person. He came back to Japan when Izuku was 14 years old, same as me, so he already had to arrive here to become a teacher in UA to find a successor. Now I have to just find him. I searched him for more than 2 hours but still couldn't find him. I really miss my underlings. When I was near the station, someone caught my attention. He was a very skinny man with sharp, angular features and long limbs, his neck long and his eyebrows absent. I finally found him. Without revealing myself, I started to follow All Might. I followed him to the secluded place where he led me to. After that he started to get bigger. He became a very large man with an equally muscular and well-defined physique, his design resembling a typical Western comic book superhero. He has short blonde hair, swept backwards, with 2 distinct tufts that stick up above his head, leaning slightly to each side, which often casts a dark shadow over his face, hiding everything but his bright blue eyes. I knew he already knew that I was following him. And I revealed myself. I clapped my hands and walked towards him, saying, as expected from number 1 hero All Might, I was revealed. He looked quite confused and asked, a child? I looked at him and said, my name is Muriomo Kane. I'm 14 years old. My house is in the northeast section of the city, where all the villas are, and I am not married. I don't have a job and I'm a student, and I get home every day by 8 p.m. at the latest. I don't smoke, and never drink an alcohol. I'm in bed by 11 p.m., and make sure I get 8 hours of sleep, no matter what. After having a glass of warm milk and doing about 20 minutes of stretches before going to bed, I usually have no problems sleeping until morning. Just like a baby, I wake up without any fatigue or stress in the morning. I was told there were no issues at my last checkup. I'm trying to explain that I'm a person who wishes to live a very quiet life. I take care not to trouble myself with any enemies, like winning and losing, that would cause me to lose sleep at night. That is how I deal with society, and I know that is what brings me happiness. Al thought, if I were to fight I wouldn't lose to anyone. 8. He looked confusedly at me and asked, what? I answered him with a smile and said, I was just introducing myself. I'm here to help you. After I said that, I manifested my tail and stretched it to the place where he was injured. I said, I could help you to heal this small injury. You just have to promise me a fight after I heal you. After strengthening my kleptomaniac quirk, I could now just manifest parts of other races and make a hybrid. I would use this mostly just to manifest my tail. It would hide my abilities, making others think my quirk is manifesting tail. It's always good to have trump cards. Comment. I waited for him to answer me. He was quite dumbfounded. Chapter 58. There was a silence for few minutes. And finally All Might said something. You can heal me? I answered by saying, yes. It's quite easy for me. I could understand what he was feeling. After the fight with All for One he was injured. Now he has a scar that covers most of the left side of his chest. This injury made him use his powers only for 3 hours. And being a hero number 1 for only 3 hours is quite hard. When he uses all his powers he would have no other choice than to look how people could die all because his incompetence. And now he has a chance to heal his injury which haunted him for years. Anyone could be dumbfounded after hearing that. I asked, answer faster, I don't have all day. He stutteringly said, yes. Heal me. After I heard that I summoned Dr. Blythe. If someone is not dead I could heal him perfectly with this ability. After seeing something come out of my tail he made a distance between us. Don't worry. This ability has no offensive power. Come towards me, I can't move when summoning Dr. Blythe, I said, which was a total BS. After I upgraded Dr. Blythe with sacrifice, I got rid of its many weaknesses. Only weakness that was left is that I have to summon it using my tail. Meaning when I use it in battle I couldn't use my tail. All Might came closer to me and I started the healing procedure. It took only 30 minutes to fully heal him. Small scar was left after the procedure and that's all. Except for that scar he looked completely new. After I healed him I said, take a rest for 10 minutes. After that we will fight. You have no option to reject it. I made a distance between us and meditated before the battle to prepare myself. If I use all my power I could beat him. But that would be unwise. First of all I have many quirk and if I reveal it, he can mistake me for All for One or his successor. Even if he is weaker he has a strong will. It was clearly demonstrated in his battle against All for One. One of All for One's primary strategies in their fight was to wear down All Might psychologically, such as taunting All Might by mentioning the latter's former mentor and predecessor, Nana Shimura, as well as revealing that Tomura Shigaraki is her grandson. The first taunt enraged All Might, while Tomura's kinship to Nana made him despair greatly. However, in spite of the guerrilla warfare employed by All for One, All Might remembered Nana's teachings on heroism, and re-established his will, enabling the weakened hero to muster up some of his remaining power in order to continue fighting. Worn out of his muscle form and faced with certain defeat at the hands of a virtually unscathed All for One, All Might was still able to channel what was left of One for All to defeat All for One in a single strike. Even a cornered rabbit will fight with teeth and claws. As such it is unwise to use many quirks. 10 minutes ended quickly and I summoned my tail again. Pointing my tail towards him I said, you can attack first. He raised his hands in a cross position and ran up towards me yelling, Carolina Smash. I couldn't even say anything. Why would you announce what attack you'll perform? Using my tail I blocked it. When he performed downwards cross chop I waited till he finished his attack. My tail was injured but ignoring it I made my tail longer and tried to trap him inside my tail like a snake. 2. I got this quirk 7 years ago. This was a basic quirk that could make my limbs longer. I kept it because it was quite useful as it could make my tail as long as I want and use it as a whip. All Might kicked the floor to propel himself upwards and escape my tail. I couldn't let him go so I made my tail follow him and try to at least trap his legs. When my tail almost trapped his legs he kicked my tail and further propelled himself. He landed quite the distance away from me. I slammed my tail towards him. He dodged it. When my tail landed on a concrete floor it made a long print full of cracks. I kept slamming my tail to hit All Might. I did not move when fighting. Why this is important you may ask? That's because I'm creating an opening he can take advantage of. He would most likely think when using my quirk I couldn't move. Great example of that being when I summoned Dr. Blythe. Best strategy to take advantage of my weakness is to come closer to me as fast as possible and send a punch towards my unguarded body. As my tail is quite long right now, it would be harder to make it protect me. It would take some time to bring it back to guard me. I kept making my tail longer. So long that it would create a weakness. I kept slamming my tail trying to hit All Might. When my tail was quite long, using his incredible speed, he ran up to me. When he was near me, I transformed my legs to chimera ant legs, which were hidden because of my shoes and jeans. I kicked the ground and dodged his punch. When he tried to again punch me, my tail already arrived after his back. Using all of my tails as power, I tried to pierce back of his neck with my stinger. Chapter 59. When my tail reached the back of his head, All Might started to spin himself. He yelled out, "Oklahoma Smash." His spinning created a tornado around himself, and I was thrown far away by the tornado. Before he created a tornado, I turned my legs and torso into chimera ant ones, or I would have been injured. I really hate this weak human body, but I need this body to reincarnate to other worlds. I hit the building and created cracks on the wall. I transformed my legs and torso back to humans and closed my eyes pretending to be dead. He is a hero, so he would try to help me. When he comes closer, I could sneak attack him. I waited 30 seconds and he finally came running towards me. When he was get meters away from me, I grew more tails using my metamorphosis ability. From all of my abilities, metamorphosis was greatly weakened. In Hunter x Hunter, it was not my ability, it was the ability that I stole from Yuppie when I devoured him. After devouring him, my body too had properties of clay and whatever Yuppie was made of. That's why I could have grow red wings the same as Yuppie. Because I had that clay shit in my body. But when that useless god reincarnated me, he only reincarnated the properties I had before eating my royal guards. I still had metamorphosis ability, but without that clay-like substance in my body, I couldn't use this ability fully. It was not completely useless, as I could grow additional limbs and any part of my body. But I couldn't grow wings or turn my hands into tentacle swords. The body part I grew would have same physical power, but I couldn't use my any other abilities on them. For example, I summoned Dr. Blythe using my tail, but when I tried to summon more of them using my fake tails, it wouldn't work. The same happens when I tried to make them longer with the quirk that makes limbs longer. I grew 4 additional tails and attacked him from the all sides. He again started to spin his body, but I still tried to attack him. My tails pierced through his tornado, and stingers on the end of my tails pierced all of his vitals. And I succeeded, but before I could celebrate, All Might caught all of my tails and started to spin me using my tails. Knowing I was screwed, I deactivated metamorphosis in kleptomaniac and fully returning to my human form without a tail. Then I smiled and said, "You are truly awesome. You truly deserve the hero #1 rank." And I with a big smile continued by saying, "Can I have your autograph? I'm your biggest fan." Fuck, if I used all my powers I could have easily killed him. But killing him would be too stupid, as I need All Might to lure all for one. That rat hides himself really good. After searching him everywhere I couldn't find him. "Do you need help to heal your wounds?" I asked. Even thought I did not seriously wounded him, I still left few small holes using my stingers from the last attack. He looked at me and asked, "Can I ask what is your ability?" "Of course," I answered and continued to say, "My ability is combination of my ancestors' abilities. One of which is tail. I could grow tails from my back. I could grow 10 tails. But one of them is my main tail, which I could make longer. Other ability is Dr. Blythe. It is healing ability that I could use to heal anyone. It is summoned from my main tail. If my main tail is ripped or destroyed, I could not grow more tails and even summon Dr. Blythe." He most likely thought I had more than one ability and suspected that I was all for one subordinate. If he offhandedly researches me, he wouldn't find anything wrong. I was in my original chimera ant form for the first 3 years of my life, before I received the quirk kleptomaniac. But I never left my house as I could be endangered. You know, I could get kidnapped or killed. Those daily life problems everyone have. Only when I received my kleptomaniac quirk I was allowed to leave the house. They thought I had a shape-shifting quirk. Only people who know my original form are my parents and servants." He was in a deep thought and said, "You have a good balance quirk. It is good in defense, offense and support." With a fake smile I thanked him. I looked at my status screen which showed greater than stats. Greater than strength weak, compared to your true body or just a disgrace right now. Greater than speed weak, as fast as a normal person in this body. Greater than durability weak, any bullet can kill you right now. That's not cool. All the cool guys could easily survive bullets. Greater than intelligence disgrace, even in your chimera ant form you were stupid. But now lowly human. You're stupider than the ant. Greater than stamina overpowered, it's a miracle for a puny human like you. Probably you can handle hundreds of women at night wink wink. Greater than abilities. Greater than mind locked. Greater than body quirk, or a synthesis. Quirk, metamorphosis. Quirk, cocoon. Quirk, kleptomaniac. Plus bunch of useless quirks that would be sacrificed. Greater than supernatural quirk, hide and seek. Quirk, dragon's head. Quirk, 100 type Wanyan. Quirk, Dr. Blythe. Quirk, sacrifice. Plus bunch of useless quirks that would be sacrificed. Greater than miscellaneous skills master of hand-to-hand combat, advanced firearms mastery, advanced sniping, advanced soundless movement, advanced knife mastery, master sword mastery. Greater than mission become a great hero and become famous by any means possible. Accomplish tasks stated below. 1 Fight All Might at his peak. Completed. 2 Kill/eliminate 10,000 criminals. Completed. 3 Make Midoriya a great hero without him getting one for all. 4 Destroy League of Villains. 5 Kill all for one. 6 Single-handedly destroy Yakuza. 7 Build your first kingdom. What is a king without kingdom? Greater than progress 28.6%. Greater than status normal, weakened, healthy, lucky, under boost 3%. Is it me or my system hates humans? Chapter 60. Few months have passed after the fight between MC and All Might. Today's focus is not our dear MC but the person walking through the city. He was an enormous individual, about the size of a large tree. He carried a portable radio which was tied around his neck. His face was hidden under the hooded cloak. He didn't know where to go, so threateningly asked 2 middle school girls for directions. He asked where the Springer's Hero office was located at. 2 girls were terrified of his big size and couldn't say anything. Giant took their silence as offensive and put his hand on a building, which caused the building to start breaking down. Middle school girl came running towards the 2 frightened girls. Using her hand she tried protecting her classmates from the giant. You could see she was frightened but she bravely protected her friends. She made up some directions and told it to the giant. Gigantomachia thanked Mina as he wandered off, while rambling about everything he does is for the Lord. He wandered for more than 30 minutes around the city and finally found a Springer's Hero office. He walked towards the building and with his bare hands he broke the side of the building to see what's inside. People inside the hero office were terrified of him. He looked at all the people there and asked, "Who here is the lucky hero Destiny?" When nobody answered him he got angry again and started to destroy the hero office. Just then a hero exited the building and angrily looked at Gigantomachia and said, "How dare you to attack my hero office? I'm the Spring Hero Springer and today you will regret all of your life choices." After he said those words he turned his legs into springs and launched himself towards Gigantomachia's head. Annoyed by his talk, Gigantomachia just sent him flying and kept destroying the building in search for his target. When the building was totally destroyed, a young woman came running from the building. She said, "It's me, I'm Destiny, please don't hurt these people." Gigantomachia looked at the girl and took her away, leaving only destroyed hero office. Just after few minutes a teenage girl arrived before the building. She had a ruby-colored eyes and a wavy hair. She also had cat-like features such as cat-like ears and tail. Her ears were covered with yellow fur and her tail was covered in white fur. She looked towards the direction in which Gigantomachia left with a young woman. She licked her lips and said, "Which idiot is the person who tried to steal what the king needs?" After she said that, she stood up in a jumping position. Monstrous ballerina appeared behind her back, with strings connecting its fingertips to girl's body like a marionette. After the ballerina was summoned, girl's muscles on her hands and legs started to swell. With Terpsichore behind her back, she jumped towards the direction that Gigantomachia was leaving. After few minutes she caught up to him. Without saying anything, she aimed her hands towards Gigantomachia's heart and tried to pierce his heart. Knowing he was in danger, Gigantomachia destroyed a building and threw it towards Peto. She easily evaded the part of the building and landed on a concrete floor. She looked interested in Gigantomachia. To try and test him, she jumped between the buildings at an alarming rate. She jumped from the building to building. At the same time she slowly wounded Gigantomachia. After just a minute, Gigantomachia was covered by small wounds everywhere in his body. Even thought he was fast, he couldn't catch the teenage girl. Slowly his size started to increase and he grew bigger. Not only did he grow bigger, he also got faster. But it was still useless before Peto's speed. She kept wounding him slowly. As they kept battling, Gigantomachia grew bigger on sizes. Finally he became a giant, and at that time his speed reached a limit. When Peto wanted to wound him again, he caught her in his hands and tried to crush her. She easily escaped his hand and jumped towards the nearest building and landed on a rooftop. She smiled and looked at Gigantomachia. His cloak was already shredded to pieces and he was covered in small wounds, but that was all. She could only scratch him, that's all. Then she noticed he carried a radio. She smiled and attacked the radio, which was hanging around Gigantomachia's neck. When Gigantomachia knew what she did, he started to yell. He yelled towards the sky and angrily looked at Peto. He lost all his mind and went berserk. Peto knew she was screwed and wanted to run away. But when her eyes landed on a young woman that Gigantomachia abducted, she stood up and went to battle. They fought for 10 or so minutes and the city was destroyed by them. Many heroes went to stop the battle, but they couldn't come close to the battlefield. Gigantomachia now was thrice his original size and any of his hands could destroy buildings. Gigantomachia was covered in wounds, but as always he still kept fighting. Peto had received almost no injuries, but she was out of breath. She was evidently tired from fighting Gigantomachia. When they kept fighting, a pillar of fire landed in front of them. It was a hero who came to stop the battle. His hero costume was comprised of a tight, navy turquoise bodysuit with lines of flame streaming across his chest, upper torso, arms and most prominently his shoulders. He used his flames as a makeshift mask around his eyes, and the tall boots he wore appeared to be either made of fire themselves or constantly left alight, as only their soles and laces are visible around the flames. He sported white bracers on his lower arms, styled in a cage pattern, and a blue belt with a pouch attached on either side. He was a hero number 2, Endeavor. Endeavor looked at the two fighters and angrily yelled out, "How dare you to fight in this place?" Both fighters ignored him, which made Endeavor really angry, and he too joined the fight. Chapter 61. Endeavor concentrated his flames into white-hot point on his both fists and he yelled out, "Double flash fire fists, jet burn." After he yelled that out, his punches send out a fiery beam towards his targets. Peto easily evaded that attack, but Gigantomachia had no way to escape the attack and was hit by it. Gigantomachia was sent back. But it was not easy to win against Gigantomachia. There was left a big burn mark on his body, but he could still fight. Again Gigantomachia grew in sizes. This made Endeavor more angry. He ignored Pito and started to fight against Gigantomachia. Knowing it was her chance, Pito started to search for something. And after few seconds she spotted a fainted young woman that Gigantomachia abducted. Pito grabbed her and tried to run away, but before she did so Gigantomachia arrived just behind her and sent out a punch towards her. Using all her might, Pito further increased her speed and barely escaped the punch. When Gigantomachia again tried to catch Pito, he heard someone yell out, "Flashfire Fist, Hell Spider." Endeavor's fingertips emitted beams of fire which he tried to use to slice the Gigantomachia to pieces. His attack left many burn wounds, but it was not enough to get rid of Gigantomachia. But it still gave Pito a time to escape his reaches. But before she could run away, a dark fog-like portal appeared out of nowhere. From that portal exited a man. His face seemed to be made entirely of scar tissues, extending from above his upper lip and covering his entire head and the back of his neck. As such, he had no visible nose, ears, hair or eyes, though the outlines of eye sockets can be seen. As a result of having no eyes, he cannot see properly. He had various tubes sticking out of his neck and jaw, presumably to help him with his breathing. There were small holes in the palms of his hands. He wore a navy blue, skull-like gas mask with angular pipes at the top, a wide collar-like life support system around his neck with multiple other pipes connecting the front and back. This was all for one, also known as the symbol of evil. He sent out a shockwave towards Pito, helping out, air cannon. Pito, knowing that woman would be endangered, she protected her with all her might. When shockwave arrived towards her, she was injured, but it was not such a bad injury. But the woman was in dire straits, as she would almost die if she again received that attack. When All for One tried to attack Pito again, a giant dragon fell from the sky. It was a gigantic red western dragon. It opened its mouth and tried to swallow All for One. Later, knowing he was in danger, he yelled out, "Enhanced air cannon," and sent out a shockwave that was more powerful than the last. This attack easily destroyed the dragon. But before he said anything, he saw hundreds of the same dragons falling from the sky. Not thinking of anything, he covered himself in a black liquid. The same happened to the Gigantomachia who was fighting Endeavor and the woman that Pito was carrying. The black liquid just teleported all three of them. When All for One escaped, the hundreds of dragons that were falling down turned into the dust. He was visible after all the dragons disappeared. He was one of the king's 3 royal guards. Poof. He flew towards Pito using his wings, and when he arrived there, he flew away with Pito, who was terrified and guilty. All the fighters left the scene, only leaving Endeavor. And at that moment someone came running towards the place. It was hero number 1, All Might. He came running as fast as he could. It looked like he was after someone really important. When he arrived at the scene, he started to look all around to spot a particular person. Knowing no one was left, he went towards Endeavor. I was in my class listening to the news. It talked about the battle between a giant creature and a teenage girl. During their fight, Endeavor appeared and saved everyone. They had no footage of the battle, and the people who saw it were already dead. At the same time, I received a mental message that my royal guards returned. It was my last class, so I packed my things up and went towards the door. At that time I heard someone call my name. It was a girl who sits next to me. If I remember it correctly, her family is really close to mine, and she is closest person to me who I could call a friend, this being they talk to each other few times a week. She stuttered and said, "Me, Marium D. Do you have a free time today? I would like to invite you to my house for dinner." I smiled and answered, "Maybe next time." After I said that, I left the school. My driver already waited for me in front of the school. I arrived at my house and teleported myself into the underground city. There I went towards the Stain's office. When I arrived there, I saw all of my royal guards and a Pito kneeling on the floor in front of the door waiting for me. I looked at her and asked, "Why are you kneeling?" She answered in a guilty tone by saying, "When I was coming back with my people as you asked, I heard rumors about one quirk. I contacted Poof and told him I'll be late. That quirk was wielded by lucky hero Destiny, who just became a hero. That quirk made a person lucky. I wanted to get that quirk for you as it was one of the quirks you specially asked to search for. I couldn't get it as someone else came and abducted her. I followed him and we fought. He was quite tough, so I just couldn't kill him faster. Then hero number 2 arrived. Hero number 2 and that guy fought. I tried to get the target but he came. The person you were searching for. I couldn't fight him because I needed to protect the target. That's when Poof appeared and helped me out. But that person just teleported himself, other guy in the target. I need punished for my incompetence. I thought about everything and said to her, don't worry, that quirk would eventually be mine. After I get rid of that rat. Chapter 62. Now I was sitting in my classroom listening to the teachers. It was as boring as always to hear him talk. I looked around to relieve my boredom. The first person I saw was the girl I mentioned in the last chapter. Her name is Elizabeth. She is from America and is learning in Japan for some reason. Her quirk is quite useful as she could heal other people. Her quirk was similar to the one that Recovery Girl has. Recovery Girl is a nurse in UA High School and is a friend of All Might. She is one of the people who know about All Might's quirk One for All. She was also the person who always healed Izuku when he was injured from using One for All. The Elizabeth has the same quirk as the Recovery Lady. Her family is close to mine. Our family makes equipment for heroes when her family owned the largest hospitals around the world. My parents want me to marry to her, but I don't even know what to say about it. In all of my 3 lives I never even kissed a girl. It's not like I want to kiss any girl, but it's just my curiosity playing. I hurriedly looked the other way to get my mind straight. This time other person came before my eyes. What was his name again? I don't care, it's better to listen to the teacher. Hello, my name is Akio Hayaku and this is my love story. I was born in an influential family with long history. I'm a student of the most prestigious middle school in Tokyo. I'm handsome and intelligent. In every test I get 100, and if my classmates were asked to rate me they'll give me 100. I'm a Prince Charming, the dream of many girls. I also have a good quirk. My quirk gives me ability to turn into a lion and use some kind of golden energy in any way I could. I have advantage over other humans with my lion quirk. And with golden energy I could create weapons, shields, and could even create wings to fly. I'm just too perfect. I would have been the best student in school if he wasn't here. He is so handsome that when the first time I saw him I've mistaken him for a girl, and believe me, I wasn't the only one. He always never listens to teachers and does his own stuff, but even doing that he gets 100 in every class. His family is prestigious too. It's not as old as my family, but they have a great financial power which helps them compete with my family. His quirk is just manifesting tail, but it is far complex than just having a tail. He could change the size of his tail and could even overpower me with it. I also heard he had some other ability that is far better than just simple tail. And finally, he is the fiancé of my love. MC doesn't know he has a fiancé. Good job, nameless parents. I loved her from the first time I saw her. This guy has a problem. He also fell in love with MC when he first saw him. Elizabeth is so beautiful and this guy doesn't even appreciate her. How could he do this to his fiancée? If I was in his place I would have showered Elizabeth with praises any time I could. His actions were unacceptable. Today something was wrong. He for the first time looked at Elizabeth during the class hours. He had a deep expression. I knew what that face meant. That face showed how deeply he loves Elizabeth and that he is just hiding his real feelings. After that he looked my way, and from his expression I knew what he wanted to say to me. He looked as if he would say, I know you like her just as much I love her, so let's get things straight. I love her, but if you love her too you could earn her feelings. If she falls in love with you I'll happily dance in your weddings. But if she doesn't want you, I want you to stop chasing her. She could choose any of us, and if she doesn't choose you please don't be a sore loser. His gaze saw through me and I was quite shocked. I thought about it and came to a realization that the only reason I chased after Elizabeth was so that I could win something from Miriam. But even knowing that he accepted me as his rival, this is what you call a real man. You deserve Elizabeth and I would do anything to help you, as you two have helped me. My name is Elizabeth and today is the most happiest day of my life. Today Miriam looked at me for 2 whole minutes during the class time. I could feel his gaze that was filled with love. His gaze carried so much emotions that it made me drop a tear from happiness. I wanted to give up my pursuit but now I know. He actually likes me but doesn't want to say that. Don't worry, I feel your feelings. I would now never stop to pursue you. You're my only and final love. This day is as boring as always. It's better to take a nap than to listen to the teachers. Chapter 63. I was sitting in my family arena looking how Izuku and Bakugo fought. After observing them for few minutes I spotted one thing which was quite worrying. They almost had no progress during last 9 months. Even Izuku, who has unlimited potential to evolve and main character Halo, didn't progress much. This is probably because they grew too accustomed fighting each other. Both Izuku and Bakugo could read each other and predict other person's attack. This can't continue. I looked at Yuppie and said, "You will fight Izuku." And then I looked at Pito and said, "You'll fight Bakugo." I chose Yuppie because his fighting style is overwhelming his opponents with brute strength. Izuku too uses brute strength but before Yuppie he's still too weak. So to beat Yuppie Izuku has to use other style than just brute strength. Bakugo is quite smart but his attacks are too predictable. In the original series even quirkless Izuku could land a hit on Bakugo as he is just predictable. And it's easy to make Bakugo angry. Pito is most likely the most balanced and strongest royal guard. Even thought she didn't receive a new power after arriving to this world. Her power increased many-fold. But if I have to point out her obvious strength it would be her speed. She is my fastest royal guard and this gives her many advantages. One of those advantages is she could calculate all her moves and be even faster. To beat her Bakugo has to be unpredictable. Battle ended as fast as it started. Both Izuku and Bakugo lost. Few days passed since I changed their fighting partners and they obviously increased their power. Today is the UA examination day. I don't want to brag but I was best in my middle school so I took recommendation exam. UA Recommendation Entrance Exam is a test given to exceptional middle school students with outstanding references to determine their acceptance into UA high school. This means I'm smart, I'm genius, I'm talking about U system. UA High's Recommendation Entrance Exam consists of a written test, practical test, and an interview. For the practical exam, students race 6 at a time through a 3-kilometer-long obstacle course using their quirks. I saw few familiar faces there. The most prominent face during exam was Shoto Todoroki. I would only say that he is good looking and has a good quirk. I wouldn't say anything more because I'm truly scared of those Shoto fangirls. They would kill me if I say anything bad about him. I also saw Momo Yaoyorozu. Momo is a fairly tall teenage girl with a rather mature physique, considering her age. She has long black hair that is normally tied into a spiky ponytail with a single bang hanging on the right side of her face and onyx eyes that point slightly inwards, which seems to resemble a cat. When I saw her I couldn't hold my saliva. I wanted her quirk. I looked at other side to take that idea out of my mind. I also saw Inasa Urashi. Inasa is a very tall and well-built young man with buzzed, dark brown hair and black eyes. Inasa is an energetic, hyperactive, and enthusiastic young man who expresses himself with vigor. He's very loud and can come off as obnoxious but he's actually oddly polite and speaks very formally most of the time. If I didn't participate in this exam he would have had gotten first place. I really like Inasa and he would have been a good student for Stain. Just like Stain, Anasa disapproves of heroes who do not have hot spirits and believes people filled with hatred are unfit to be heroes, and he refuses to recognize them as such. This is why Anasa hates Endeavor and his son Shoto. Both of them had cold, angry eyes when Anasa met them, and both of them blew him off despite his warm greetings. Anasa's grudge against the Todorikis eventually drove him to become the type of person he hated. He had cold, angry eyes whenever he encountered Shoto during the hero licensing exam, and even told him to his face that he hated him. Anasa hated Shoto so much so that it cost him his provisional hero license the first time around because they refused to work together. This time I'll not make him waste his time. I finished the written exam and it was time for 3-kilometer obstacle run. I made sure that I would run with Anasa and make so that Shoto going to run after us. To not make him the person he hates, I just have to get the first place and warmly congratulate him. I summoned my tail and made it so long it just straight up went to the finish line. Then I used my tail to pull myself. It was quite easy to get the first place like that. Anasa was second and I congratulated him with passion and enthusiasm. I looked towards the place that held normal entrance exams. Izuku, Bakugo and my royal guards were there. I felt like something bad is coming. Chapter 64. After the 3-kilometer run I was asked to follow the teacher towards the interview room. When I entered the interview room I was welcomed by a bulky smiling guy. I looked at All Might and asked, "So you're the teacher in UA?" "I don't care, but something is fishy here. As the hero number 1 you'll not waste time being interviewer. Do you need my help?" When I was talking All Might started to sweat from being caught, and after I finished he said, "You got quite the sharp mind, Muryu my boy. Yes, I need your help." At the same time in the other corner of the UA high school practical exam started for the UA acceptance. During the practical exam, candidates conduct mock battles in replica urban settings. Examinees are given 10 minutes to use their quirks to immobilize robotic villains in order to score points depending on the robot's point value. The more points one examinee earns, the higher their chance is to get accepted into UA High. Pito after entering the exam site took out her phone. Someone texted her and after looking at it she smiled and replied. After that she summoned Terpsakura and started to annihilate few robots. After destroying 20 she jumped up to the highest building and waited. At the same exam site Izuku too was destroying many robots in an astounding speed. Quickly the number of robots decreased and Arena Traps was released. 0-point robot. Arena Traps are massive villain bots scattered through the city replicas in order to trap and weed out people from getting high scores. They're not meant to be fought, which is why they're worth no points. Pito looked at the robot interestingly, then she jumped towards him and landed on its shoulder. She touched it and retreated back. After her touch a monstrous ballerina with strings connecting its fingertips to robot's body like a marionette. Steam started to be released from the robot's body and it looked towards Izuku. Seeing a giant robot coming to him Izuku started to run, but he saw a girl was on the way of the robot. To save the girl Izuku started to battle with that robot. Arena Trap sent out a fast punch towards Izuku destroying everything on its way. Izuku used all his power and jumped towards Arena Trap. When Izuku was near it he used all his power and enlarged his fist thrice his original size and landed a punch. Metal the robot was made of was distorted but not completely destroyed. And when it tried to again send a punch towards Izuku, it stopped. The place where Izuku's fist landed was rusting in unbelievable speeds and after few seconds Arena Trap fell. Ikuni safely landed and went to save the girl. There he went towards the girl and asked, "Are you okay?" She answered by saying, "Yes, I'm okay, thank you." Izuku asked, "What is your name?" And she answered by saying, "My name is Elizabeth." After she said that a golden lion came running towards them and tried to help the girl. Let's take a look at other city replica. This place was far more destroyed than the normal exam sites, as this place had quite the explosive applicant. Buildings were destroyed as many robot fragments were all around the place. Their Bakugo was surrounded by 100 arena traps all attacking him. In not so far away building Poof was drinking a tea and observing the battle. It was a good idea I went after Bakugo. He destroyed so many buildings and the battlefield has nothing that could expose my power, Poof said while drinking a tea. Bakugo kept destroying gigantic arena traps but they still outnumbered him. It was an endless wave for him. Slowly he started to feel tired from fighting all those robots. That's when something caught his eyes. One arena trap at the back just passed through the building. It was weird. And that's when he stopped attacking the remaining robots. One of the robots sent a punch towards Bakugo and he did nothing. The punch too did nothing and passed through Bakugo. He looked at robots and said, "You think I'm stupid? These robots are nothing more than an illusion. They can't even hurt a fly." One more robot sent a punch towards Bakugo and Bakugo still did nothing. Outcome was different this time and Bakugo passed out from the robot's punch. In a building Poof put his cup on a table and wiped his mouth. After that he said, "Yes, you're really stupid." After saying that he made illusions to disappear. Teachers who observed the exam looked at each other. They did not know what to do with those kids. Everyone thought to themselves that Poof and Pito were more like villains than a hero. "So with what do you need help with?" I asked All Might. He answered by saying, "You see, Chapter 65. All Might said, "I need your help to heal someone. He is my old friend, is now a retired hero. Few days ago he was attacked by his enemies and almost died from that encounter. He beat up his opponents but was also injured. You even healed me, so I don't think it would be hard for you to heal him." I was quite shocked. How could hero number 1 support a child labor? It's totally unacceptable. I said, "Why don't you ask Recovery Girl to help your friend?" I did, but it was impossible to heal him with only her quirk. He answered while looking somewhere else. It was quite obvious that he was hiding something. I asked, "Are you hiding something?" "My boy Miriam, why would I hide something from you?" He answered. I looked at my phones and said, "I have important meetings for a month, so I can't help you in the near future." After I said that, I went towards the door. All Might ran towards me and said, "Okay, I'll tell you. 15 years ago barbarian hero Beowulf found the way to increase the power of quirks. During his fight with villain group he made a vow that if he could beat those criminals he would sacrifice his powers. After he made that vow his quirk became powerful and he easily beat up the criminals, but he became quirkless after the fight. When I heard that I was frozen solid. 15 years ago. That's the time when I and Royal Guards reincarnated here from the Hunter's Hunter world. And idea of vows and limitations are from that world, not this world. But even if this concept was present in this world it would not work. Being a product of the mind, Nen responds to the goals, strengths, and desires of individual users. As a result, a student of Nen can increase the overall power of an individual skill by stating a self-imposed restriction that forces even more conditions on it. But in this world my mind abilities were all inaccessible, meaning I can't use them. So the vow and limitations would be useless too. But now someone is saying that they were used in this world. I looked at him and asked, "It's me first time hearing this concept. Don't expect me to just believe in it. You don't know about it because government hid all the information about it and only handful of heroes know about. Just think how terrible it would be if all the criminals could increase their power. If the concepts of vow and limitations could be used in this world, then the concept of postmortem Nen or postmortem quirk could exist here too. Let's just not think about it or I would die from stress. That useless God makes so many mistakes, God making mistakes. Isn't God has to be omnipotent? Then why did he make a mistake? 2. Don't tell me that it is all the doing of that stupid God. I always felt weird when he knew all of my stats and powers. And now he is making my life a hell. I'll fucking kill him." I smiled and said, "Where is your friend? I'll try and help him." All Might with a huge smile on his face said, "Follow me." And I followed him. He was brought here to the UA and was in nurse office. I looked at All Might and asked, "Why is he in UA?" He answered, "He is one of the teachers here." Teachers? I looked at the patient and he was a total stranger. I never saw him in the series. What actually happened? I asked. 10 years ago he made a limitation that he could use his quirk only at night. His hero name was Darkcloak, Hero of the Night. 3 days ago he was attacked by his nemesis. But thankfully it was during nighttime, that's why he could protect himself. He was outnumbered and even after a night of fighting he could not beat all his enemies. When sun rose he used all his power and killed the attacking leader. He received a huge backlash from that attack and was seriously injured, said All Might. I went near and looked at him. Maybe he died before Izuku joined the UA, that's why I didn't see him. I summoned Dr. Blythe and started to heal him. Hey hunters. Just a quick break again. And yes. We need to do these now, let's dive back in. Chapter 66. I checked out his body during the healing procedure. To just see the difference between this world's consequences and Hunter x Hunter worlds. His body was in severe state. He would have most likely died today if I didn't help him. It took me 3 hours to heal him. After healing him I looked at All Might and said, I healed him but now he is quirkless. Did he bet his quirk to get more power? All Might answered, yes. He used his quirk and the extreme pain to set the limitation. I said, I healed him. But this is the first and last time I heal someone for you. You can't just ask me to heal everyone. After I said that I left the room. The consequences of breaking the vow were just as terrifying as in Hunter x Hunter world. I wasted so much stamina to heal him. But it was also good. It means I could exploit limitations and vows. I can make my guards to make a vow and even if they break it I could still heal them. If they become quirkless I could again give them quirks using Cocoon. I exited the UA and went towards my limousine. My guards were already waiting for me next to the UA. I looked at them and asked, did you all did well? They all answered by saying, yes we did. I would be more shocked if they didn't pass the test. When I was entering the limousine I again looked at Pito. She was acting strange right now. I asked her, did something happen? She hesitated a bit and said, Poof said that you are helping those kids too much. So we tried and tested them if they are really helpful to you. I was still angry because I had to change my plans because of new concepts that appeared in this world. Now they are creating more problems to me. I have to show them their place. I looked at Poof and released intimidating pressure. I asked, did I ever tell you to do that? Poof answered, no. You didn't. I asked, then why you did that? Poof said, you helped those kids and wasted your precious time. It would have been terrible if they weren't even that strong. I thought for a bit and said, I really don't care about if you kill Bakugo, but Izuku's life is more important than yours. This time I would let you go but if this repeats I will kill you. After saying that I entered the limousine. I arrived at my house after 20 minutes and went to my room to take a rest. New school year started and it was first day of school. I was assigned to the class 1A. Yuppie and Pito were assigned for the same class as me. Poof was assigned for class 1B. I wondered why school even accepted him. I was third person to arrive to class as 2 people were already there. They were Tenya Ida and Momo Yaoyorozu. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now exposition time, so you can just skip the parts after this if you already watched/read BNHA. Tenya Ida is the book example of a person who always follows rules. Tenya is a relatively tall and muscular young man with a wide frame. He had short dark blue hair, flattened neatly down and parted on the left of his head, a small patch completely shaved near the base of his head, and rather square eyes which matched the notably pointed shape of his jaw. He wore a serious expression, and his eyebrows seemed to be permanently pointed inwards, quite thin and long in length, the far end sharply hooked inwards, and he wore glasses with rectangular lenses. I found my seat next to the window to feel more like a protagonist, and Yuppie and Pito took the seats near me. After few seconds other person arrived to the class. It was a human-bird hybrid by the name of Tokoyami Fumikage. He had a raven or a crow head. Despite the appearance of his head, however, his body is of normal human shape, with rather fair skin. After Tokoyami 2 more people entered the room. They were Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki. Bakugo sat down on his chair with his legs on the table. Seeing that Ida ran up to him and started to question him. Shoto just entered the room and sat down on his place. The person who came after them was shocking. It was Anase Yairashi. In the original series he was ranked first in UA recommendation exam, but he actually didn't enroll into UA, he enrolled into Shiketsu High School instead. But now I saw him in here. He was enthusiastic and welcomed everyone. When he saw me he ran towards me and started to talk to me. After that all the remaining Class 1A students arrived and took a seat. Last people who arrived were Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraka. But because they didn't have the meeting during the entrance exam they were just strangers. I looked at them and thought maybe I should help them be together like in the series. Then I looked at Bakugo and thought, it would be really funny if Ochako fell in love with Bakugo. Except for Koji Kota shy guy that talks to animals, and Rikido Sato sugar guy, everyone from the original series was in Class 1A. To comment. Then the person with worn out appearance entered the room. He was our homeroom teacher Shota Aizawa. Chapter 67. Shota Aizawa looked at everyone and took out their sports uniforms and said, "It may be a surprise but please wear this and follow me." When everyone wore their sports uniforms they arrived at the training field. There Aizawa started to explain the rules of the quirk apprehension test. He started to talk about how now government doesn't allow students to use their quirk in their physical evaluation test, how it is stupid. And thought that it was too old school way of thinking that makes students think they're equal but in actuality they're not equal. I totally agreed with his statement, but what followed was hilarious. Then he called out for Izuku and I knew Aizawa would embarrass himself. Aizawa looked at Izuku and asked, "Midoriya, you received highest scores in practical exam. Can you tell me what was your highest score on ball throwing in your middle school where you couldn't use your quirk?" When I heard this I couldn't hold my laughter, as his body evolution and body strengthening is a passive ability and is always active. If he now says his highest score this would embarrass Aizawa quite a big. But I was also shocked. How could Aizawa not know about Izuku's quirk? He's our home teacher, he should also have watched the practical exam. I couldn't wrap my head around why is Aizawa making his life more harder for himself. I used telepathy to communicate with Pito to ask how the practical exam actually progressed. I asked her, why is Aizawa embarrassing himself? Doesn't he know that his ability is passive super strength and agility? She answered to me by saying, during practical exam he rarely showed his physical body, as any metal robot that he touched or punched would instantly turn into rust. Maybe Aizawa thinks that Izuku's power is making things rusty? I thought of that possibility, but it also didn't make sense as to why he would ask Izuku to throw the ball even knowing Izuku couldn't throw the ball far, as his quirk wasn't actually a strength-based, his quirk is actually strength-based. Izuku, knowing in what situation Aizawa is, said, "Yes. My highest score was 70 meters. Aizawa then threw ball towards Izuku and said, "Can you demonstrate for us? Oh, you also can use quirks." After Izuku threw the ball, Aizawa started to say, "You see, even thought Izuku took the first place in his." He stopped his words in a midway as he could say nothing. The number his device told him was so astounding that he could say nothing. Then I knew what Aizawa wanted to do. He wanted to show others that Izuku, who was first in practical exam, get lower grade than a Bakugo who got the second highest score, showing that some quirks have advantage over others in different scenarios. As he thought Izuku had power to rust objects, he knew that he would get lower scores than others as his so-called quirk is not strength-based. It was quite the idea. If I could clap to him I would've. Izuku threw the ball 1101.4 meters away from himself using only his physical power. It was quite the feat, as this shows that he is more powerful than a one-for-all finger smash that could help him only get 705.3 meters in the series. All the kids were crazy knowing Izuku's score. Getting annoyed by the students, Aizawa said that the person who gets the last place in the quirk apprehension test would be expelled from school. Then the real tests started. It was 50-meter dash. I was racing with Tokoyami Raven Human Hybrid, coolest guy in class. It took me 2.34 seconds to finish it. During recommendation exam I finished a 3-kilometer run with only stretching my tail, so this was quite an easy test. My score was never beaten, but Anasa came extremely close to it. He finished it in 2.47 seconds. Ida received the same score as in original series, which is 3.04 seconds. He was followed by Izuku and Bakugo, who finished the dash around 4 seconds. The following test was grip strength fitness exam. I was in my human form but I still got the first place here too using my tail. I used part of my power, so it only showed my force being 1024.0 kilograms. I was followed by Mezzo Shoji, the cool-looking octopus Nico Robin ability user, whose force was 540.0 kilograms. Third fitness exam was standing long hums, and you guessed it, I here too got the first place. No one was spectacular there except for me. The only exam I was not good at was repeated side steps. If I was in my real chimera ant form I would easily get first place. But my human body is too weak. But I still got a good result using my tail. Minoru Mineta, human trash that is better off dead, was the best in this fitness exam. And lastly it finally arrived, the ball throw year. It is the test where others showed their real strength. Bakugo threw the ball 1,307.2 meters away, which bested the highest record that was Izuku's. When Bakugo knew the result I could see a tear coming from his eyes. I wouldn't say that Izuku is weaker than Bakugo even if he got a better score here. In ball throw Izuku used his raw strength, he couldn't use the power of rotting and rusting, he couldn't use camouflage, and he couldn't use healing and many more abilities that he has. But this also shows how lazy Izuku has become. He has such a good quirk, but is still losing to someone who just has explosion quirk. I really think biokinesis is wasted on Izuku. Anasa also shined in this test. He also received an infinity score just like Ochako. I knew his power that can control wind was awesome, but not to this degree. And as mentioned above, Ochako received infinity score. But I don't think Anasa received an infinity. Maybe device can't calculate too far distances, that's why it showed infinity. And just like that, quirk apprehension test was over. I received the first place, and to no one's surprise Mineta was in last place. Chapter 68. Looking at the ranking, Mineta couldn't even say a word as his face was covered in tears. He looked at Aizawa and ran up to him crying, "Please, please. I don't want to get expelled. I want to be cool, I want to have a girlfriend. I've never even held a girl's hand. I'm still a Vi. I want to be a cool hero." As he said those words he climbed to the Aizawa's legs. Aizawa tried to kick him off of his legs, but Mineta used his balls to stick himself into Aizawa's leg. Mineta's quirk allows him to produce and pull ball-shaped objects from his head. The duration of its adhesive quality is determined by his overall health. He can pull a large amount of these objects from his head, however, if he overuses it, it can cause bleeding from his head. Aizawa's quirk allowed him to erase other people's quirks. But it was useless against mutant-type quirks just like Mineta's. With no way out, Aizawa could only say, it was a joke, no one would be expelled. Sadly, he wasn't expelled. I and all the readers really wanted him to be expelled as he is the worst student in the class. Hell. For me, he's one of the worst characters in the show. I don't have a problem if he was just a normal pervert, but he stepped out of the pervert archetype and now is straight up criminal. He harassed everyone in Class 1A. One example is during UA Sports Festival he stuck himself into Momo's back for the whole race. He sexually harassed her. He is just a waste of space in Class 1A. There are many people who more than deserve this place. One such person is Shinso Hitoshi. Hitoshi is a very stoic and straightforward person with an innate ability to spark conversation with anyone. With just this character he's far better than Mineta, who is just a comic relief character who's not even funny. Only feeling he gives me is that of disgust. I stopped looking at that sorry excuse of a person. After the classes I went home awaiting the next day. Time skip. Now I'm standing in changing room and I was now trying out my hero costume. All Might had class to participate in the battle trial during our first foundational hero studies class. We were given permission to use our hero costumes for the first time to participate in this event. It was also my first time trying out my hero costume, even though my family owns the largest hero costume production line. Just like Ida, my hero costume looked like a medieval knight armor. I made it so that when I turned my limbs into chimera ants my costume would hide it. Not only that, but my costume was equipped with latest technologies. There was a cooler and heater inside my armor. Also, using my helmet I could connect to the internet. I also looked quite cool and classy when wearing it. Thankfully I don't have to make a hole in my costume to fit in the tail, as I could always summon and unsummon my tail. When using my tail the backside of my armor would open a little just to fit the tail, and when I don't use tail it closes by itself. Yuppie didn't need any hero costume, so he wore only his sports attire. Pito's costume was made of elastic leather to increase her mobility. She also had claws that were made from the most expensive materials found on Earth, sponsored by my family. I exited the changing room and looked at all the students. Nothing changed except for that Midoriya became closer to Ida and Ochako. They were fated to be friends, I guess. Also, Izuku's costume looks better than the original one in the series, but it still kept its overall appearance. I looked at All Might and awaited his instructions. He started to tell us about battle trial. We would be paired up by drawing lots and split into teams of heroes and villains that fight 2-on-2 fights. Teams are chosen by chance to replicate situations where real heroes are paired up on the spot to fight villains. The battle trial replicated a situation where the villains are hiding a payload inside the building and the heroes must secure it or defeat the villains within a time limit. The villains are granted the victory if they successfully protect the payload or capture the heroes. After he explained the details of battle trial, it was time to draw lots. I looked at Anasa and said, "Don't you think it's unfair?" "What's unfair?" he asked. "This trial is. You and me are strong, so it would be unfair for the weaker people that we could fight. You could control wind, yes?" "Yes, I could," he said. "Make so that strong people would fight strong opponents and weaker students could fight other weaker students. You could use your power and fix who would fight who," I said. He thought for a few seconds and asked, "Isn't random elements the objective of this trial? Professional heroes need sometimes with the people they never worked with. It's one of the characteristics of a good pro hero." I answered him by saying, "We all are new students here and really don't know about other people's abilities. So my plan could still work." Anasa, being convinced, asked me, "But how do we know who's strong or not?" "Don't worry, I could feel who's strong," I answered. Chapter 69. I looked at All Might and said, "But we don't have enough people. This class has 22 students, we at least need 2 more students to make this battle trial plausible." All Might looked at me and answered, "Don't worry Miriam, my boy. I already notified Class 1B. They would send 2 students from that class to help us." After he said that 2 people arrived before our class in their hero costumes. It's like they teleported here after hearing All Might was talking about them. How convenient. First person wore a frilly white shirt, black pants and a pair of black shoes. This was Poof, who was assigned to the Class 1B for his shenanigans in the entrance exam. His hero costume looked the same as his outfit on Hunter's Hunter World. Other person wore a black, double-breasted tuxedo with two long tails reaching almost down to his ankles. He was Nato Monoma, who has a copy quirk. Nato's quirk allows him to duplicate and use another quirk after coming into contact with its user. He gains full access to the quirk he has copied and can use it however he likes, and it is also possible for him to copy multiple quirks at the same time, with his maximum being 3 quirks. It is possible to increase his maximum by training. However, a drawback is that Nato cannot simultaneously use multiple quirks, only one at a time, and can only use the quirk he has copied for 5 minutes. Time limit also could be increased with good training. After his time limit is up, he loses the use of the copied quirk until he comes back in contact with its original user. He also can't effectively copy quirks that store power over time, such as One for All and Rewind. Together Poof and Nato looked like they were going to evening events and not for the battle. Nato looked at all the Class 1A students and disdainfully said, "Poof, look at these students from Class 1A. They don't have any fashion sense. Look at their barbaric hero costumes. Every time I see them I would puke from disgust." Poof just ignored him and walked towards me. He came close to me and kneeled on one leg and said, "Master, sadly I can't be in the same class as you are. Forgive my incompetence." I nodded at him and signaled him to stand up. All Might looked at us and said, "Oh, you two know each other?" Using telepathy quirk I asked Poof to ignore All Might. He did as I asked. After that I went towards Anasa and asked, "Would you do what I said?" Anasa agreed. I then said to him, "Make so that first battle would be Izuku and Ochako versus Bakugo and Ida. Second would be you and Shoto Todoroki versus me and Yuppie. For third battle chose Pito and Momo against the guy that talked to me, Poof and Tokoyami. For the other battles you could just make them random. Both Izuku and Bakugo are strong individually, that's why they are not cooperative. They both know each other's weaknesses, so to beat each other they have to cooperate with someone. Both of them are not stupid, so they know about this fact. Even Bakugo would be forced to cooperate with Ida to beat Izuku. Bakugo is quite fast but not as fast as Ida and Izuku. That's why in every fight with Izuku he uses off attacks. With Ida's speed he could have an advantage over Izuku. I chose Ochako to be with Izuku because, well, my readers wanted it. Quickly the battle trial started. Ida and Bakugo were villains, they were against Izuku and Ochako, who were heroes. I went to the observation room to see their battle. This room had many screens that projected inside the building. We could also hear their conversation. Next to the bomb, Bakugo was talking to Ida. He said, "It is useless to guard this piece of trash. It's better for us to go and catch the heroes. You have a speed-based quirk, yes?" Ida answered him, nodding. Bakugo then said, "It's good. Izuku is super fast and you have same speed as him. You could distract him and I would take care of the girl. After I get rid of her it would be easier for us to beat Midoriya." Ida asked Bakugo, "Isn't it better for us to wait for them here?" Bakugo said, "No, if he enters this room using his speed he could easily touch the bomb. We could not allow him enter this room. Also, when you're fighting him, make sure he does not land a hit on you or you'd be dead with a punch." Ida thought for a minute and said, "Please don't make too much damage when fighting Ochako. She could levitate the pebbles you created to fight you." After he said that, All Might announced the start of the trial. Izuku and Ochako entered the building. After they walked for few minutes, Ida came out and started to fight Izuku. They both had the same speed and no one could get the advantage. When Izuku was fighting Ida, Bakugo attacked Ochako. Bakugo did not injure her deeply. He made sure Izuku sees how she is losing to him. I could just say that Bakugo is quite smart. He knows that Izuku is a kind-hearted individual, so by showing him that Ochako is no match for himself, he would make Izuku come to him. Izuku would then try to help Ochako and stop his battle with Ida to help her. Just as I thought after seeing Ochako is not a match for Bakugo, Izuku stopped his fight with Ida and ran to help Ochako. That's when Bakugo used his real power. He pointed his grenadier braces which stored his sweat towards Ochako. And when Izuku came to protect her he shot an explosion. This explosion destroyed anything on its way and the whole building almost collapsed. The ones who received the blast were two took damage. Ochako fainted from the impact. But there was N damage on her body. This is mostly because Izuku took the damage. And many wounds were on Izuku's body. He protected Ochako and received the whole power of the explosion. Bakugo, knowing it was his chance, he stretched out one of his hands and used his other hand to form a circle on the palm of his outstretched hand. Katsuki then fired an explosion through the circle, which created a concentrated blast beam. This was his AP shot special move. In the original series he developed this attack during his training in Gamma Gym, but he is far stronger than he was in the original and he developed this attack far earlier. His AP shot made a hole in Izuku's body and it even scratched Ochako. Looking at them, Ida was terrified. He looked at Bakugo and asked, "Why you attacked him so severely? This is just a training." Bakugo ignored Ida and shot many more AP shots at Izuku. Midoriya's body was covered in holes after those attacks. He was severely injured. Ida couldn't take it and went next to Bakugo and tried to stop him. But before he did that he saw something unbelievable. Chapter 70. When all that action was unfolding, All Might's reaction caught my attention. When Izuku bravely went to save Ochako even knowing he could be severely injured, I saw that All Might was started. After that his eyes started to shine as if he found the priceless treasure. That was the time I knew I was screwed. If All Might gives his power to Izuku, his actions may ruin my main mission. I have to form a good plan to not let that happen. To get rid of those thoughts I looked at the screen. And I saw the most interesting part of the fight. Inside the building Izuku's skin was falling down and new skin was forming without any scratches or wounds. I never saw this technique before, meaning it's his new technique. Even thought I never saw this technique, I could understand how it's possible. He's now body shedding, which basically means he's shedding his body or skin and emerging with a new body, even after dismemberment. All animals shed their skin, even you. In mammals, especially humans, this is an ongoing process that's rarely noticed. But his process is similar to how reptiles and snakes shed. Instead of an ongoing process, reptiles shed skin periodically. Snakes are even more unique, because their skin usually comes off in one piece. If you've ever seen a snake's skin, you know it looks like the snake just slithered right out of its skin, almost like taking off a sock. As soon as it is complete, the old skin peels away, leaving behind a snake-shaped shell along with any parasites that may have been attached. After shedding his skin, Izuku was as healthy as even the start of the fight. But it was evident that he was tired. This body shedding process really used up too much energy. Even Izuku with great stamina couldn't use it any time. Izuku's skin then turned thicker and few scales were formed all around him. This was one of his many abilities, which is called dermal armor. This is a basic ability that makes your skin thicker and more durable. That's all. It's not such an amazing power. Izuku ran up to Bakugo. Katsuki, seeing Izuku wanted a fight, he too took Izuku head on. They fought for few minutes and Bakugo won. Izuku was quite tired from using many abilities and even healing Ochako. All those abilities used up his stamina. And after that it was my time to fight. Now I'm standing in front of the building. Me and Yuppie are heroes and Anasa and Todoroki are villains. I waited till All Might yelled to start. I didn't move but looked at Yuppie and said, "Turn yourself into Kitty's hog-nosed bat. Let's try and test them. When you're in danger, turn into something stronger." Kitty's hog-nosed bat is the smallest species of bat and arguably the world's smallest mammal. It has a reddish-brown or gray coat, with a distinctive pig-like snout. If they're not careful, we could easily touch the bomb and win the game. Yuppie turned into Kitty's hog-nosed bat just after I ordered him and started to search for a bomb. Slowly I followed him and entered the building. When I entered the room with a bomb, I looked around. As I expected, both Anasa and Todoroki were panting, tired from fighting Yuppie. Now Yuppie had quite a funny form. His form was short and plump, with 4 pairs of legs, each ending in claws. From the looks of it, he looked like tardigrades. Tardigrades are usually about half a millimeter, 0.02 in, long when fully grown. But now he was as big as a teenager. They have been found everywhere, from mountaintops to the deep sea and mud volcanoes, and from tropical rainforests to the Antarctic. Tardigrades are among the most resilient animals known, with individual species able to survive extreme conditions, such as exposure to extreme temperatures, extreme pressures, both high and low, air deprivation, radiation, dehydration, and starvation, that would quickly kill most other known forms of life. It could even survive the outer space. Of course, the tardigrade that Yuppie turned into couldn't actually survive in outer space for many reasons. Fist being his size. Real tardigrades are that resilient because they're microanimals. They're never meant to be this big. But still, he is quite resilient to extreme cold and heat in this form. It wouldn't be hard for him to beat both Anasa and Todoroki. Anasa kept sending freezing winds towards Yuppie, and Todoroki sent out his glaciers towards Yuppie. Both their attacks were useless against Yuppie. Anasa looked at Todoroki and asked, "Is there any way for us to beat him?" Todoroki answered by saying, "Our attacks clearly do nothing to him. I don't have any idea how to beat him." Seeing that they were talking, I thought of an idea how to spice things up. I looked towards them and said, "Hey Shoto Todoroki, I have a question. Isn't Todoroki Endeavor's always angry flame guy, lost name? Are you two related? Are you his son?" Then I stopped for a few moments and then continued, "Oh, but you use ice not fire. So you can't be his son, as Endeavor's quirk is hellfire. Sorry I asked you weird questions." After hearing my words, both Todoroki and Anasa froze right then. Todoroki was shocked, angry and pained at the same time just by hearing me talk about his father. Anasa had a face of stunned realization. He looked at Todoroki and asked, "Are you Endeavor's son?" With the cold eyes, Todoroki just ignored Anasa. Anasa then said, "Yes, you're his son. Both of you have same cold eyes." He was clearly shaken by something, but he tried to ignore it and attack Yuppie. Todoroki too started to attack Yuppie. That's when their attacks collided. Anasa thought that Todoroki wanted to beat Yuppie himself and get all the credit for the battle trial. His eyes became determined and he attacked Yuppie again with stronger attack. That's when his attacks also collided with Todoroki, making him more angry. Now Anasa attacked Todoroki and Shoto too started attacking Anasa. The villains were with each other. That's when I commanded Yuppie to finish them. Yuppie turned into a small dragon and attacked them both. They were easily beaten. I walked towards them and said, "Both of you are stupid. Todoroki, you're just some drama queen, and Anasa, you became what you most hated. You two tried to get rid of Todoroki to get creator for beating Yuppie. If you both tried and used 100% of your power to fight Yuppie instead of fighting each other, you may had the chance to beat him." Of course it was a lie. They couldn't even injure him. Chapter 71. After my trial, it was Poof and Tokoyami versus Pito and Momo. I guess Poof's team will lose, as it's easy to counter Poof's ability if you know about it. Pito and Momo were villains, Poof and Tokoyami were heroes. I looked at villain's hiding spot. There, even before start of the game, Momo was conjuring a metal bars to block the door. Pito just went near the bomb and took a nap. Quickly the battle trial started and Poof opened his wings and flew towards the location of the bomb. Something was different in him now. That is that he was carrying a violin. I couldn't guess why he would need a violin. I didn't need to guess, as after he flew up to the highest floor he started to play his violin. A terrifying sound attack covered the whole battle area. I wasn't there but could still feel my ears hurting from this attack. Just after he started playing violin, Pito jumped out of the building and attacked Poof using her artificial claws. In Hunter x Hunter, Pito's ability Terpsichore could make her pass her limits, which was showed by noticeable effect of swelling of the muscles on her hands and legs, the latter much like when she was preparing to jump. It seemed like this ability can increase her physical attributes. But when it turned into a quirk, her ability evolved. Now it also could make any mechanical objects pass its limits. For example, during the entrance exam I was told that she used her abilities to increase the 0-point robot's attributes, making it many times stronger. Now she used it on her body and artificial claws, making her attacks faster and more deadly. When she was flying towards him in amazing speed, a giant hand made of sound materialized before Poof and protected him from her attack. When Pito's attack landed on a hand, she was sent flying from the rebound power of the hand. I was quite shocked by Poof's new abilities. I'm quite sure he gave himself quite a few limitations to increase his power. Before this I thought his power was just to create illusions, but now I understand it's far more complex than I thought. Most likely his ability is creating an illusion which fools all 5 senses of a human. The illusions that he created could be felt with 5 senses, that's why they were realistic. But after his opponent knew of Poof's ability, all the illusions would pass through them, making just illusions. So after few thoughts I came up with a good explanation of his power. His power was creating an illusion that fools 5 senses, as I said before. But after his opponent knew of his abilities, one of the senses would be countered. The sense of touch. That's why his illusions would pass through his opponents when they knew of Poof's ability. But that's only sense of touch, meaning other 4 senses still could be fooled with a realistic illusion. After knowing of vow and limitations crossing into this world, he most likely developed this new ability. Right now his illusions are illusions that cover only 1 sense. Sense of hearing. If I were to compare it to any other quirk, it would be Present Mike's voice quirk. Voice allows Present Mike to increase the volume of his voice, giving him the ability to create loud, high-pitched sounds. The sound that comes from Hisashi's Present Mic mouth can reach extremely high levels, enough to incapacitate people by disrupting their eardrums, which may cause bleeding. The loud noise will also drown out other sound-based quirks, giving him an advantage against those quirk types in battle. Poof creates millions sound illusions and packs them to create one attack, which gives him same amount of power as Present Mike. This is most likely his new weakness. He could create millions of illusions, but they would be weaker than the sounds he experienced. Meaning he has to create many more illusions to just accomplish a normal sound-based attack. This means that sound-based attacks are like bottomless pit that consumes all of his stamina. And just as I thought, after few minutes of battling he slowly grew tired and fell down. His new abilities were impressive, but his weakness is too huge. But still he made quite the impact on other people. Pito's ears were bleeding non-stop from the sound attacks she experienced. If not for her physical attributes already reaching peak of possible, she would have become permanently deaf. Momo was still standing, but Tokoyami was already fainted. Most likely after the first sound attack, Momo created an earplug to lessen the pain she received from Poof's attack. After that the battles continued, but almost nothing was interesting. Nato's battle was quite comedic. Before the battle he copied Poof's ability to create a 5-sense illusions. He created millions of bomb illusions, to try and fool the heroes. But because they thought the first bomb that they met was real, it actually became a real bomb, making them win the battle. After the battle trial, Poof with Nato went back to then Class 1B. Classes quickly ended, and when I was leaving the school I saw my greatest nightmare. All Might was talking to Izuku. I knew I was in deep sh then. All of my years of hard work would now be destroyed. A small tear escaped my eyes. Why am I so unlucky? Chapter 72. I turned full Chimera Ant and went as close to them as possible to eavesdrop. Thankfully I was not that late and they didn't start talking. Thank you very much, dear Plot Armor. All Might seriously looked at Izuku and said, Today during your battle trial you showed great heroism by covering Ochako during a battle even knowing you could seriously injure yourself. Izuku with a stuttering voice said, "Thank you." After saying that he started to look around his book pack and took out a notebook. Slowly he stretched notebook towards All Might and said, "CC, can I have your autograph?" All Might laughed and took the notebook and signed it. Izuku kept thanking him with all his might. After signing the notebook, All Might's face became serious and he said, "Today I want to tell you one secret. Follow me." After he said that he went to the dark alleys. If he was not hero number one I would have thought he was abducting teenagers. There All Might started to say, "You know about my quirk?" Izuku answered by saying, "Nobody knows about your quirk and it's one of the greatest mysteries of the world." All Might said, "My quirk is called One for All and it is a quirk that stockpiles power and could be passed on to other people. Today you showed great heroism and I'm sure that you could be a new symbol of peace with One for All." Izuku was shocked knowing such a secret, but his face became solemn and he said, "I'm happy that you think I could be a great hero, but I just can't accept your quirk. I can't be a symbol of peace because I have far more important goal. I want to protect someone. Someone who sacrificed his lifespan to make me a person that I'm right now." I was happy. All the attention I've given to him wasn't wasted. I never anticipated that I could be this lucky. But after this moment I have to think of a way to get rid of All Might or find a better quirk candidate, or he could still pester me. He would not be rushing as I already healed his injuries, so I have to hurry and make him rush and give his quirk to some useless quirkless. All Might was silent for a minute, but looking at his eyes I could feel it. He became more determined. This was bad. He said, "With my quirk you can be strongest and nobody could hurt the person you want to protect." Izuku said, "But I want to protect him with the power I was given." All Might looked sad and said, "I understand. I would not continue this conversation, I can find a more suitable candidate." Izuku opened his mouth and said, "Thank you for understand." When he was saying that, All Might put his hair into Izuku's mouth. Both me and him were shocked. Small tear escaped my eyes. I wanted to tear this mother to pieces. When I was attacking I heard a notification. I hid myself and looked at my status. Greater than stats. Greater than strength overpowered, nothing to say. You're just overpowered. You could beat All Might in a fist-to-fist fight. Greater than speed overpowered, you're fastest creature in this world. Greater than durability overpowered, if overhaul is not used nothing in this world could destroy your body. Greater than intelligence disgrace, as expected from an ant. You are as smart as an insect. Greater than stamina overpowered, you don't even need to sleep. With just your stamina you can fight for 6 months without sleep. Greater than abilities. Greater than mind locked. Greater than body quirk, or a synthesis. Quirk, metamorphosis. Quirk, cocoon. Quirk, kleptomaniac. Plus bunch of useless quirks that would be sacrificed. Greater than supernatural quirk, hide and seek. Quirk, dragon's head. Quirk, 100 type Wanyan. Quirk, Dr. Blythe. Quirk, sacrifice. Plus bunch of useless quirks that would be sacrificed. Greater than miscellaneous skills, master of hand-to-hand combat, advanced firearms mastery, advanced sniping, advanced soundless movement, advanced knife mastery, master sword mastery. Greater than mission, become a great hero and become famous by any means possible. Accomplish tasks stated below. 1. Fight All Might at his peak. Completed. 2. Kill/eliminate 10,000 criminals. Completed. 3. Make Midoriya a great hero without him getting One for All. Impossible to accomplish, out of your control, terminated. 3.5. Fight peak Midoriya and steal everything he has. Traitors have to be punished. 4. Destroy League of Villains. 5. Kill All for One. 6. Single-handedly destroy Yakuza. 7. Build your first kingdom. What is a king without kingdom? Greater than progress 28.6%. Greater than status peak, confused, healthy, lucky, under boost 3%. Well? So my mission changed? I calmed myself down and looked at All Might and Izuku. All Might was scared and was shaking, most likely he felt I was attacking him. Izuku too felt something, but his senses were not as strong as All Might's. All Might took Izuku as far as he could. I didn't follow them, but started thinking about what happened. I thought for a minute and came up with two theories. First being because I can't control All Might, it was out of my control to change this outcome, making it an impossible mission to complete. But there is a problem. When did my system became so nice? My second theory is same as first, but including my lucky status. Before this my luck always helped me in hard times. This time too, could it be because I'm lucky? Of course. Also plot armor, chapter 73. Something is strange. I took notice of it just after I came back to my house and really thought about today's situation. I already fully healed All Might from his old injuries. He was as good as new and could still be a hero for 40 more years. If he's in a good condition, then why was he so hasty to find the successor? I just couldn't wrap my head around this situation. The only hypothesis I can come up with is that All for One too got fully healed and even got stronger. But this is highly impossible. I stopped thinking about it and tried to take some rest. When I tried to do so, Poof opened the door and said, "Izuku came to see you, sir. Can he enter?" I nodded it and Poof brought Izuku to my study room. He stood there and didn't say anything. I started the conversation by saying, "You got stronger. A lot stronger than before. Do you want to have a match?" Izuku was silent and I took it as yes. I manifested my tail and pulled him towards the training arena in my house. When I was there I fully transformed into a chimera ant and said, "This is not like before, be more serious." Izuku was shocked seeing my real body. I did not wait for him and attacked his face with my right fist. It was just a weak punch that had 20% of my power, and when it landed on his face Izuku was sent flying. His left cheek where my attack landed was swollen and deformed. I looked at him and said, "Use all of your power or you're gonna die." After I said that, I ran towards him in unbelievable speed and sent him flying with a punch on the stomach. Before he landed I attacked him again by jumping after him and covering his body with my tail and throwing him with all of my tail strength. He landed on a concrete wall which was totally destroyed by the impact. I looked at him and said, "If you do get serious, you're gonna die." After I said those words I made my tail longer and pierced his chest with my stinger. When my tail arrived at its target I missed. He dodged my stinger attack. That's not all. Before I made my tail shorter he appeared next to me and sent a punch using One for All. It was not like those weak punches in the series but a real one that had the power of All Might. I was sent flying, but of course I wasn't hurt. Before I crushed on a wall I recreated my tail and propelled myself using it towards Izuku. When I was flying towards Izuku I used 50% of my power on both of my fists and punched him right into stomach. He spewed tons of blood and was flying. When I inspected him he was seriously injured and fainted. If not treated as fast as possible he could be a cripple for the rest of his life. I summoned Dr. Blythe and started to heal him. You may ask, why did I act so radically? That's all because everything is getting out of my control. From the moment that concepts of Nen were introduced into this world I started losing control, and I had to rethink my plans. Also from that moment something bugged me. My intuition told me that something would happen to me, and it's totally not a positive thing. I want to leave this world as fast as possible, and only thing that holds me in this world is my missions. I already planned out how to finish them all except for the new mission that appeared. It could take Izuku years to fully master One for All, and I can't wait for that to happen. So I came up with a cliché way to make him stronger. And that is using "you're still weak, this is serious" strategy. This strategy is really easy to understand. I would beat shit out of Izuku every day and torture him for many days and make him evolve every day. And I'll totally take this seriously as I revealed my real body to Izuku. And those who saw it would never tell it to other people. After I healed Izuku, I opened a portal towards Underground City. I teleported to the Stain's room. When he saw me, he bowed down. I looked at him and asked, "How's the infiltration operation is going right now?" Stain, still kneeling before me, answered, "It was quite easy. That organization you talked about was searching for any possible manpower and it was easy to infiltrate it. Now 80% of the members are our people." I smiled and said, "Did you find the analysis quirk I asked of you?" Stain said, "I found a culinary quirk that has the same properties. The user of the quirk has to just eat any food and she knows contents of it thoroughly." I asked him, "Is it limited to food?" Stain answered, "Most likely not. She couldn't eat weapons or any kind of metal. But we fed her few mild poisons and she could say what its components were. We also fed her towels and papers. She could also say what they were made of." I was happy. At least some of my plans were still progressing smoothly. I gave Stain a few photos and said, "Make sure that these individuals would not survive the attack." After saying that, I opened a portal to the arena where I would start a new session of training with Izuku. Chapter 74. I was sitting on my limousine and arrived at UA. When I just left the car, I was surrounded by the press. I started to look around the entrance to try and locate Tomura Shigaraki. I just don't want him to destroy my future plan, and ran away like a scaredy cat. I couldn't find him, so I just decided to wait till USJ incident. If you never watched BNHA, then let this isekai protagonist to explain everything to you. The USJ incident is a villain attack on Class 1A at the USJ orchestrated by the League of Villains in an attempt to kill All Might. Shigaraki Tomura is the leader of the League of Villains. And his first attack on UA should be today. Using his quirk Decay, he would destroy the UA entrance. Tomura's quirk allows him to disintegrate whatever he touches with his hands. Whether the target is organic or not, it will work without fail. The disintegration will spread through their whole body if a victim doesn't amputate the decaying body part. His quirk can even spread between targets he isn't touching, allowing him to disintegrate large groups of enemies instantly. By destroying the UA entrance, he would allow reporters to enter the UA. I looked at reporters and calmly answered their questions. From a young age, I was taught how to act before the reporters. I quickly answered their questions, which were all about All Might, and excused myself. When I was entering the UA, I heard something that I found really funny. One reporter started asking Yuppie many questions. And before every question he would refer to him as lovely lady. When I heard those words, I remembered the Yuppie's old appearance in Hunter x Hunter World. And now I imagined his appearance now, which looked almost same as Pito but more feminine. I slowly went towards Class 1A with barely keeping a straight face, and my two royal guards followed me. We were first to arrive to the class. I went towards my seat and waited for others to come. Finally, after 10 or so minutes, they started arriving. After everyone was here, it was time to choose the class representatives. I gave my vote to Ida, and my royal guards too did the same. Ida became a class president with an overwhelming number of votes. Izuku became his vice. During the panic caused by reporters entering the school, Ida showed himself. From the window he knew that infiltration was just media entering the school, so Ida tried to calm down the chaos created with a crowd. Tenya decided to step up and stop the chaotic evacuation, asking Ochako to make him float, allowing him to jump up into the air, and then uses his engine quirk to sprint onto the exit sign, where he is finally able to tell everybody to calm down since it's just the media, which stops the chaotic evacuation. Now let's have a small time skip. I'm sitting on a bus right now heading towards USJ. The Unforeseen Simulation Joint, often acronymized as USJ, is a training facility located in UA High School. The facility consists of a dome-shaped building composed of 8 main sections, with 6 of them emulating a particular environmental factor. We arrived there and were welcomed by Teacher 13. The unforeseen simulation joint was idealized by the pro hero and Teacher 13 as a way to train students on how to act through disaster situations. When Ochako saw the 13, she couldn't hold herself from excitement. Just after we arrived at the USJ, a gigantic portal appeared out of nowhere and many people came out of it. The same time people exited the portal, a shadow came running from the entrance. It was a muscular guy with a big smile on his face. Seeing the All Might, one of the League of Villain member used his quirk. That person's whole body was made out of mist and his costume was just 3 metal plates around his neck. He covered everyone in mist and teleported everyone all around the map. It was Kurogiri's quirk, Warp Gate. Kurogiri's quirk can create and manipulate a dark fog that acts as a portal. Whenever he produces a mass of the dark fog, it transports anything it comes in contact with to a nearby location. He can also create multiple exit points where the things that touch his fog will emerge. His quirk is coordinate-based, so he can teleport as long as he is aware of where he's going. This quirk's usefulness and rarity makes Kurogiri an extremely vital asset to the League of Villains. Well, at least the ex-League of Villains, because after today no one would survive from this organization. I used telepathy quirk to tell everyone to start the plan. After I did so, my body started to change. After sacrificing many skills to increase the power of kleptomaniac, my quirk developed a new ability. I called it shapeshifting. I could change my physical features and even the fingerprints to that of any human. And for shapeshifting to work, I just have to touch a person. After I changed my appearance to that of a handsome young Caucasian man, I took out a mask and put it on my face. Izuku's training speed is not satisfactory, so it's time to give him some motivation. Let's start a cliché revenge for master plot. Chapter 75. After shapeshifting and wearing a mask on my face, I started walking towards the All Might and League of Villains leaders. When I was going there, I started to use telepathy and command all of my soldiers to start the plan. League of Villains now had more members than in the original series, and that is all because 90% of the members were my soldiers. In my point of view today, I could finish 2 missions. One being destroying the League of Villains and also killing All for One. I would attack and endanger Tomura's life to fish out All for One. I could also wait for Camino incident, but it would take too much time. I could lure a foe easily using Tomura, as in the series he revealed himself to just save his successor. I quickly arrived at the biggest fighting field. Most of the major players were here. First thing I saw when I arrived was Kurogiri and Tomura both lying on the floor motionless. They could still talk but couldn't move their bodies. From their face I knew they were angry. I couldn't see it before, but next to them was also Numu. He too was paralyzed. They were surrounded by the fake League members. Not far from them 2 people were fighting. One of them was a walking talking weapon arsenal. He had a worn and partially damaged katana, 5 daggers, throwing knives, toe-spiked boots, and folding knives. It was of course Stain. Kurogiri, Tomura and Numu were paralyzed by his quirk Bloodcurdle. Stain can paralyze his target by ingesting samples of their blood. The amount of time a victim is paralyzed for varies depending on blood type, in descending order from longest to shortest to duration, B, AB, A, and O. After I used a cocoon on him, his quirk became stronger. Before upgrading his quirk, the maximum amount of time person could be paralyzed was 8 minutes. But now he could paralyze a person for an hour. He also received partial control over blood ability. If he is close to the person and that person has an open wound, he could draw blood from that wound using a mind power. But sadly it was useless in combat as he has to focus to use this ability. Stain was fighting All Might. Even thought Stain was keeping up with All Might, it was obvious he was in disadvantage. His normal weapons couldn't pierce All Might's skin, preventing him from activating his quirk. 2 more people were fighting next to them. One of them was Izuku in his hero costume and other person was Gentle. Izuku tried to go and help All Might, but he couldn't because of all the traps that were laid down by Gentle. He created a miniature elastic world around himself which disturbed Izuku's balance. Even thought Izuku was far stronger than Gentle, he couldn't land a hit on Gentle, but kept being thrown around. Right next to them La Brava was watching them fight and cheered for Gentle. I wanted to finish this faster, so I joined the fight. I can't use my tail or chimera ant form, so I had to use my other abilities. When I was walking towards the battlefield, a gigantic statue of Guanyin appeared behind me. All the fighters stopped fighting after witnessing my ability. Even thought I had 100 type Guanyin for many years, I could never use it to its full power. Whenever I fought someone, my least used ability was this. After sacrificing many quirks to this ability, I finally could use it now. It was almost the same as when Netero used it. But there was a difference in its face. The Guanyin that he summoned would always have tranquil but merciful facial features. The one I summoned had a sadistic smile, and its eyes looked like it looked down at everyone. Of course the statue I summoned looked cooler, if you may ask. Most likely I couldn't summon Guanyin before was because I never prayed or worshipped anyone in Buddhist religion. I started moving one of the hands and captured Izuku with it. Then I looked towards All Might and said, "Kill yourself or I'll kill this kid. I'll give you a minute." After saying that, I commanded the hand to start squeezing Izuku. He tried to say something to All Might, but I made him shut up. And started the countdown. All Might didn't know what to do. But I know that he would kill himself to save Izuku. After All Might's death, Izuku would try his hardest to get stronger. This would help me greatly. All Might looked at me and said, "You can't injure Midoriya as you're scared of me. You took a hostage because you can't beat me, and if something happens to student Midoriya, I will get rid of you." I smiled and said nothing. Without batting an eye, I continued the countdown. I could feel him getting nervous, and finally he said, "I'll do it, I'll kill myself. Just promise me you'll keep your promise." After he said that, he moved his hands and tried to pierce his heart. When he tried to do that, a portal manifested and a person exited it. He looked at me smiling and said, "What a wonderful quirk. I want it." After he said that, he sent out a shockwave towards me. Not losing a moment, All Might too attacked me. He aimed at the hand that held Izuku. As if I would let him do that. I performed a chopping motion to both of them and sent them flying. I looked at All Might and said, "I didn't fight you not because I'm scared, but because I didn't want to dirty my hands." After that, I clasped my hands and attacked both All Might and All for One. I trapped them between Guanyin's hands to try crushing them. Chapter 76. It would have good if it ended there, but sadly they escaped my third hand attack. When I again tried to launch an attack towards them, a black-like whip came towards me and tried to cover my neck. I sent a chopping attack using Bodhisattva towards the black whip. The black whip attached itself into the Bodhisattva's hand and tried to pull it towards itself. I retreated my hands and pulled the person who was using black whip. One for All is a quirk that has merged the quirk factors of each previous user within the core of One for All and increases their quirk's power. Izuku is the first user capable of using them in the series. And when Izuku first manifested the quirk, All Might admitted that it was new to him, meaning he himself never manifested those quirks. But now he could use one. I have to get rid of him. I have no idea what other 5 quirks are hidden in One for All. I just can't let him unlock any more quirks. The quirk he is now using is called Black Whip. This quirk is quirk wielded by a previous unnamed user of One for All. As the name suggests, it allows the user to launch dark tendrils of energy or black whips to grab things at an unspecified range, though it appears to be large. The dark energy is also able to attach to the surrounding and pull the user around. I pulled All Might towards myself and waited for the best moment to attack. He was flying towards me with his left hand covered in dark tendrils of energy and right hand prepared to attack. When he was inside my range, he yelled out United States of Smash and sent a punch towards me. Just from the shockwaves I knew I was in danger. This unstoppable attack was used to defeat All for One in the series and marked the end of All Might's career. This All Might is far radical than in the series. In the original series he used this attack and it took last remnants of his power. But right now he is using it towards me. That's not how this is supposed to be. Why using a one-hit KO attack from the start? It's not like I killed your son or something. Oh. Now I understand. I didn't wanted to use it but I have no choice. I started to use my other quirk to get rid of All Might. Every hand of Bodhisattva was now covered in a dragon's head and I unleashed a barrage of palm attacks towards All Might. Even the normal barrage of palms would have devastating power but not every 100 hands Bodhisattva has was covered in dragon's head. My attack destroyed the half of USJ, but I did not stop at this. I kept sending out palm attacks towards All Might and after 5 minutes I stopped. I blew away all the smoke and looked at All Might. He was dead. I created a portal and threw his body there. Even thought he gave his quirk to Izuku. He still has a good meat and I could have a feast. I looked around and found that All for One was missing. That sneaky bastard, he took Kurogiri and Tomura with him. I can't complete missions if I don't kill him. I started searching for a stain and after few minutes found him. After his quirk got stronger he gained 2 abilities. One was partial blood control and other was blood connection. After he consumed someone's blood he could paralyze them. Also at the same time he would have a connection with that person, meaning he could know his whereabouts when his victim was paralyzed. After knowing his whereabouts I went towards the exit of the USJ. I conjured a long Chinese dragon from my hands and climbed it. I looked towards Stain and said, after you finish mission given by me retreat and destroy all the evidences. After I said that I controlled dragon and went towards All for One. It took me few minutes to arrive in front of his base. I couldn't help but be shocked by the speed of the dragon. I then used my trump card that I prepared to fight against All for One. That trump card is the quirk Space Lock. That is extremely useful quirk that could guarantee that I would catch him. Space Lock locks the space around the designed area and makes every teleportation power useless. Of course it has one weakness, which is that it is not 100% perfect quirk. There is a 0.00000001% chance that person could actually use teleportation. But even if they use it, the space around area would be unstable, so that person may end up dying trying to teleport. After I arrived there I shattered the dragon into many smaller dragons and made it rain over All for One's base. The dragon dive was extremely beautiful attack in the Hunter x Hunter world and is one of my greatest attacks. Everything that was under me was destroyed and the base that I attacked fell. Inside the base I could see many Numus and an underground passage that led somewhere. I again summoned the dragons and used it to go to the passage. After few seconds I arrived at the end of the passage and saw All for One there. He was not alone, and Tomura with Kurogiri were there too. And also 7 tanks of water were in that room. And every 7 tank had person inside it. Hey hunters. Just a quick break. And yes. We need to do these now, hope you're enjoying it. Okay. I'll go away now. Chapter 77. I looked at all the water tanks and saw many familiar faces. They were all the previous one for all users. I feigned ignorance and said, "You are trapped, you can't escape me." All for One sneered and said, "I don't have to. As I'm capable of leaving this place without even a scratch." "What makes you so sure you can?" I asked. "You're gonna die, so it'll enlighten you." As he said that, I knew what was happening. This is it, that ultimate villain exposition, aka evil plan monologue. All for One looked at Kurogiri and Tomura and made them sleep. After that he looked at me and said, "Let me explain what All Might's quirk is. It is called One for All and it was once the quirk of my brother who you can see in the tank. It can stack up power and pass it to other people. It is a quirk with a lot of potential. My quirk is called All for One and I can give others and steal quirks. The only quirk I could never steal is One for All, my greatest nemesis. As the quirk could only be passed down if the current wielder wants it, is almost impossible to steal the quirk. He stopped there and looked at water tanks. After that he again looked at me and said, "But what if I used my mind control ability to make the current user give it to me?" Sadly, I understood it too late, as the second user of the One for All had total immunity towards mind control. And it was passed to every later generations. I couldn't steal One for All no matter what I tried. After that he went to the nearest water tank and looked at the person inside of it. He was All for One's brother and first user of One for All. He then looked at me again and said, "I couldn't steal it in later generations, but what if I stole it using the predecessors? I saved my brother in this water tank for hundreds of years. The water in the tank is mixed with my blood so it can make other people live longer. But if they leave the tank they would all die off instantly. Their minds could still function. It was because of the familial ties, but now I have a clear goal. My goal was to connect every consciousness of One for All users and make them influence the current user to give the power to me. The consciousness of every generation is connected, meaning that I could influence the current user by controlling the weak-minded past generation users. I could connect my brother's mind to the second user. Even thought second user has immunity to mind control, it would be useless as my brother would create an opening for me," he said, but then stopped. He became angry. He said, "But till now I couldn't fully control the One for All users. That's because as the power is passed down, the connection between past and current users get thinner. Third user of One for All could easily use power of the second user. But the last user of One for All, All Might, could not use any power of the past users, because of the thin connection that connected them. But a year ago I had a breakthrough. After I got the lucky quirk I had a breakthrough. All for One who was injured was totally healed. Not only that, his potential was unlocked and he could finally use the quirk of the past One for All users. This made the connection stronger, giving me a chance to influence All Might's mind. It wasn't perfect, but still it was an opening. After that something more amazing happened. I found an ideal person who would help me. After that he looked towards the door and I saw a Gigantomachia entering. He was carrying an unconscious boy with a green hair. All for One looked at him and said, "This boy's ability is amazing. Strongest I've ever seen. Even stronger than yours. Your greatest mistake was to not kill this boy. From what I observed, his ability was biokinesis and he could one day learn an ability called generic memory. The user is able to access memories and information stored in their genetic code. In most cases, this results in the user calling upon their ancestors or relatives. And in our case he could perfectly connect to past One for All users, perfectly inheriting their power and making him most vulnerable to the control. I couldn't fully control All Might, but I could still make him pass his powers to this boy. And after that I would use his ability to fully connect with the past One for All users. Then control him to give me all the powers." 3. All for One transformed his fingers into jagged, far-reaching spikes and pierced Izuku. It was his ability called Forced Quirk Activation, Chapter 78. Forced Quirk Activation is one of the most useful quirks All for One has. All for One transforms his fingers into jagged, far-reaching spikes that pierce a target and activate their quirk against their will, whether they are conscious or not. These appendages can also be used for offensive purposes. After using this on Izuku, he'll totally would get stronger, which lessens my burdens. After hearing his story I could only admire his persistence. He spent more than 100 years and collected corpses. He spent many of his rotten blood to keep their minds. And even after that he had no progress. He only could get so far because he was lucky that I reincarnated. Or else he would have rotten in jail. All that hard work and he progressed because of luck. It's no wonder he lost to All Might. I smiled and just let him do what he tried to do. I could stop him any time, so I had nothing to worry about. When his finger spikes pierced Izuku, All for One closed his eyes and started to concentrate. After few minutes he opened his eyes and I could see his excitement in them. When he tried to wake up Izuku and control him, I started moving. Before he could do anything I transformed into my chimera ant form and attacked him. Using my hands I cut his arm and ate the big chunk of it. I looked at him and with cold voice said, "You have quite the tasty meat." He could say nothing. I tried to now cut his other arm, but this time he was prepared and dodged me using his air cannon to push himself away. He looked at me terrified and asked, "What is your quirk?" "It's impossible, I have the greatest quirk ever. Everyone is weaker than me." I smiled and said, "What's unbelievable about this? If you have quirk stealing ability, then it's no wonder other people too could awaken same power as you have." All for One looked at Gigantomachia and said, "Kill this guy." After he said that, he opened a portal and tried to run away. Gigantomachia, who wasn't even in his strongest form, sent a punch towards me. With the punch I obliterated him. Maybe I have to change my name to Saitama? After few moments, portal opened again and All for One was thrown out of the portal. He spewed out a blood and there was a hole in his stomach. He was heavily injured. Looking at him I said, "You're still alive? You're quite lucky. But your luck ends here." He looked at me with a great determination and said, "You may kill me, but I'll get you too." After he said that, he turned his fingers into spikes and tried to pierce me. I let him pierce me and nothing happened. With a disdain I said, "You're just pathetic. Can't even hurt me a little." After that I beheaded him using my tail. Before his death he laughed like crazy person. After killing him I wanted to try out my new quirk, so I went towards him to eat his corpse. When I was near him I fell down. I slipped on a banana peel. WTF. I tried to calm myself. Anything could happen in this world. I looked around and destroyed any banana peel around. There was only one that I slipped. I destroyed it. As I was walking towards the corpse I again slipped on a banana peel. This is not funny, author. After destroying second banana peel I didn't move, I just stretched out my tail to get the corpse. After bringing it towards myself I started eating him. When I was chewing his bones it stuck inside my throat and I almost died. This was strange, so I hurriedly looked at my status. Greater than stats. Greater than strength, overpowered, nothing to say. You're just overpowered. You could beat All Might in a fist-to-fist fight. Meteor could hit you and you die. Greater than speed, overpowered, you're fastest creature in this world. Banana peels are faster. Greater than durability, overpowered, if overhaul is not used nothing in this world could destroy your body. But now anything could kill you. Greater than intelligence, ashamed, I'm ashamed to be a system of such a dumbass. Your ignorance destroyed you. Which idiot would let others attack him? Flex done wrong. Greater than stamina, overpowered, you don't even need to sleep. With just your stamina you can fight for 6 months without sleep. Greater than abilities. Greater than mind locked. Greater than body quirk, or a synthesis. Quirk, metamorphosis. Quirk, cocoon. Quirk, kleptomaniac. Plus bunch of useless quirks that would be sacrificed. Greater than supernatural quirk, hide and seek. Quirk, dragon's head. Quirk, 100 type Wanyan. Quirk, Dr. Blythe. Quirk, sacrifice. Plus bunch of useless quirks that would be sacrificed. Greater than miscellaneous skills, master of hand-to-hand combat, advanced firearms mastery, advanced sniping, advanced soundless movement, advanced knife mastery, master sword mastery. Greater than mission, become a great hero and become famous by any means possible. Accomplish tasks stated below. 1. Fight All Might at his peak. Completed. 2. Kill/eliminate 10,000 criminals. Completed. 3. Make Midoriya a great hero without him getting one for all. Impossible to accomplish, out of your control, terminated. 3.5. Fight peak Midoriya and steal everything he has. Traitors have to be punished. 4. Destroy League of Villains. Completed. 5. Kill All for One. Completed. 6. Single-handedly destroy Yakuza. 7. Build your first kingdom. What is a king without kingdom? Greater than progress 57.1%. Greater than status peak, confused, healthy, extremely unlucky universe wants you dead. RIP, you were a good host.